and that's how I get it to come out.
I gotcha.
Works wonders. Works great. It's wonderful. I just need to turn my microphone around.
Schedule. Just scheduling the newest episode of Week in Horror for today. We are set.
All right, we're live, and I'm still trying to fix my.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry about the noise.
It's okay.
I should probably
Probably
mute
should.
it.
So
Stop playing with your big black knob.
Oh, excuse me.
issue me any instructions that I need to obey.
Oh, you're good. Like I said, now that we got that taken care of, all you got to do is
enjoy,
be Tony, be PhD Tony, and rein us in from our stupidity.
I'm not sure that I'm
going to be very difficult. So we're live right now on.
I fucking love this hat, by the way. I
It's
really do.
Actually, I gotta wear my. Hey, Johnny O, have you got your Aussie hat there?
Yeah, that's right over here. You want me to get it? Hang on.
Get it. Just so everybody knows, we are live right now. Just so you know.
I feel like Mick fucking Taylor.
I do not know who that is.
There's the horror series,
Wolf Creek.
Wolf Creek.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Wolf Creek. Too scared to watch it. I have heard of it.
Oh, it's brutal as shit. So
did you know that the actor who plays Mick Taylor is famous for being on a kids' television show called Play School?
That's Jeff Jarrett.
Yep, that's right. Yep. And so he's he there's just this my brother can't watch it. My brother can't watch those movies just because that's Mr. Paul. Like there's no way he can watch it.
Is my whole face covered by my microphone right now?
Just about.
Damn it! I forgot to move
the whole scene when the head on a stick scene.
Yeah,
it's pretty rough. Have you seen him, PhD Tony?
Oh, I've seen the first one. I've seen the first one. I've seen the first one, and just wow, yeah, pretty hardcore.
I have to admit, the first one was good. The first one was really, really good. The second one was kind of just an extension of the first one, just more like carnage and craziness. But the TV series. Series that aired, that was only I think it was only because I know that in a series, in the UK or the episodes are much, much longer, and they only do like 3 of them because they're technically standalone. Yeah, so there was 2 seasons of a Wolf Creek TV series, and they were both really, really good.
I did hear about the Wolf Creek TV series, but I haven't seen it.
Pleased to meet you,
Tony.
Yes.
Quick question for you. Do you have a bush hat by any chance?
A bush hat? Not any longer. No, I do not.
We're gonna have to remedy that.
I have a cricket hat.
That'll do. That's Aussie enough. There's a reason. There's a reason why, and I'll explain when Tony comes back with his hat why I want everybody to wear their Aussie hats. Okay. Right about now.
So with this beard, does it work out there? Irish, does that help to?
Oh yeah, now you look like what we would call a hold on, what would you call like a true blue Aussie? No, you look like you drive a truck in the outback.
Oh, okay.
Is that a crocodile hunter too?
No, not a crocodile hunter, because people like us can't be crocodile hunters because you actually have to sit on the crocodile, and I think if any of the 3 of us sat on the crocodile, we'd fucking kill it. It would be a crocodile. That's perfect, Tony. That's perfect. So there's a reason. There's a reason why I want to put on the Aussie bush hats tonight. Today has been exactly 4 years since I left Ireland to move to Australia.
Oh wow!
Oh, nice.
4 years. So from not tomorrow, but from Tuesday, I can officially apply to be an Australian citizen. So I will then get an Australian passport. So I'll be a dual citizen. So if either country goes to war, I'm covered, basically.
and
what if they go to war?
Reducing the IQ of both countries.
There you go.
2 seconds.
Actually, today.
You're thinking about what?
The fact that he left Ireland.
Yeah, it's 4 years.
No, but.
But hold on, Mrs. Demon's got some.
I have a theory.
You definitely don't want to go on camera with that on your
No, I
face.
don't.
Okay. Long story. Go on.
I barely talk because of the face mask.
It's dried up.
It's drying my face. You left Ireland on the 9th of August and you arrived in Australia on the 11th of August. So technically, for the 10th of August, you weren't like a resident of either country.
I was stateless.
You were stateless.
I was like Tom Hanks in what's it called?
The Terminal.
Terminal.
There you go. I was
You were
stateless.
a resident of an airplane.
That's a good point. Actually, technically, I was a resident of Hong Kong at one point.
Yeah, true.
Which was a terrible place to be a resident of. Not because I dislike Hong Kong, but Hong Kong food dislikes me, my friends. You know, I have a terrible issue.
Banana. Remember that?
I do remember that.
To eat a fruit.
Mrs. Demon had to eat a fruit. Imagine that. When I travel over long distances, my stomach doesn't catch up for a few days. And I basically pooed my way across the Middle East. I single-handedly destroyed half of the Middle East. I did more damage in the Middle East than Bush, basically. I did oh Jesus, lads, I did bad damage in the Middle East, man. I think I'm banned. I'm on a no-fly list for fucking United Arab Emirates.
Why
you
is
can't
it?
let him in the country anymore. He shit everywhere.
It's a weapon of ass destruction.
Did you say weapon of ass
weapon of
destruction?
ass.
Yeah. Why is it
God.
that the first
Anyway,
two stories I hear this morning are of you destroying Mrs. Demon's works toy and then all of the Middle East?
Hold on, what was that?
So why is it the first two stories we hear from Irish Demon this morning are about you destroying the wife's toity and the Middle East's toity?
And there was the airplane incident. That was the worst of the lot. That was the worst of the lot.
How many of your personal anecdotes revolve around toilets? This is just for our edification. How many are we going to have to labour through before we get to the other side?
It's going to be a wild
toilet-based terror.
My friend. The one that hits me the hardest because I had to literally sit with it for 2 hours was on a Qantas flight from the middle of the bush somewhere to Perth, and over the hot land of Australia, the turbulence are pretty bad. And I was on the old head, and we hit a patch of turbulence.
You go to the toilet on your head?
No, luckily I wasn't doing. How can I say this without sounding fucking gross?
We have past that.
You've crossed that threshold, my friend.
Ship has sailed.
Basically, what I would usually do standing up, I was doing sitting down for safety reasons, as you're supposed to do. And I got tossed up into the air, and I was essentially looking at the back of my own penis. Is all I'm saying. I can't think of a way to put it more clearly. I was somersaulted in a tiny toilet the size of like a cupboard, and I was much bigger at the time, so there was not a lot of room left in there. So that's why I couldn't use it to do the other thing, because there wasn't enough room for me and it in the toilet. So yeah, so I ended up doing a bit of a backflip in the toilet, landed with my head on the floor in front of the toilet bowl, my knees on the toilet bowl, and my unit looking me right in the eye, basically.
Well done, you. I'm reminded.
But I actually had to get help out of there. That's the problem. I couldn't right myself.
I'm reminded of there was an Australian journalist called Clive James who used to do a sort of a chat show, and he used to get people to come on, and one of his guests was Billy Connolly, and Billy Connolly was talking about being in the US and watching Dr. Ruth, who was sort of a little sex therapist, and she was saying, Billy Connolly was relating the time where she had a patient who complained that his penis was too small, and Dr. Ruth said, well, men often think that their penis is too small because they look at it from above. You need to look at it from side on in a mirror to get a real picture. And Billy Connolly says, and it doesn't make a jot of bloody difference. And Clive James, the interviewer, just without an instant's hesitation, said, "It's dangerous too. I nearly fell out of a window that way."
Oh.
And I'm just like, how do you come up with that response so, just instantly? There wasn't a second wasted as far as that concerned.
He's so quick, isn't he, Billy
Yeah,
Connolly?
he
I
is.
love how fast he is. I've seen
Well,
Billy
that was
Connolly.
Clive James. That was
Oh, it was
Clive
Clive James.
on
Oh, okay.
to Billy Connolly. So Billy Connolly was telling the story, the Dr. Ritz story, and Clive James was saying, dangerous. I nearly fell out of it. Just it was just a very fast response that has stayed with me all the time. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a few people, like the old comedians were great. But Billy Connolly, did you ever hear what Billy Connolly said about the William Tell overture? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I do know what
the William Tell. For those of you who don't know, I shall now do my rendition.
Boy.
It's the one that goes
God.
like.
It's the Lone Ranger music.
Well, that's the thing. That's exactly the point, Tony. So you have now, in the eyes of Billy Connolly, lost your PhD, because he says my definition of an intellectual is being able to listen to the William Tell overture and not think of the Lone Ranger.
That's a lie.
Exactly.
The William Tell overture. Okay, it's obviously from the opera, and I've forgotten who even wrote it. But there's no way that music has anything to do with a Swiss guy shooting an apple with a crossbow. That music is just completely unrelated. A cool guy on a horse fighting injustice. That's the right music for that.
I agree.
I
agree.
Oh, everybody is complaining.
Yeah,
that
it was
they
Rossini.
don't have spanners. Yeah, that is. So, would this be the point in the stream where I admit that I have no idea how to give spanners to people? So
this is all you got to do, Tony.
The point in the...
All you got to do is hover over their name, right? So if you hover over their name with your mouse, you'll see 3 little dots appear on the right. Click the.
Okay.
And that's
All right. Okay. Well, yeah, I shall do this.
Is
educational as well.
Taddy in the chat? Taddy Bogle.
Yeah, Taddy's in there.
Yeah, Taddy. You'll remember this joke from Billy Connolly. He said something like, the good thing about Glasgow is if there was a nuclear attack afterwards, you wouldn't even know the difference.
Did you know that Billy Connolly was the second last Columbo villain ever?
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, really. He was the second last Columbo villain. Plays a musician, actually. There you go. I was just watching this the other day.
Billy Connolly kind of. I'm kind of reminiscing here because I love him to death, and I know that he's going through some really, really tough times now. And so I always look back fondly, and how I first discovered Billy Connolly was in I think 99. It was Boondock Saints.
Oh, really?
And it was, we happened to get a chance to watch it while we were doing a show. We were in the middle. We were in between. We were doing a double header, so we had a matinee and we had an evening performance. And in between that, the director bought us Chipotle and let us watch Boondock Saints because he had a copy of it. So we sat down watching, and I was like, "Oh, who is that? Who is the dad? The dad is amazing. He's freaking just killer." And if it was Billy Connolly, then I looked at Billy Connolly's body of work and I was like, that was so not him.
It was way out of character for him.
It's amazing,
and
isn't it?
It's
incredible.
Something I love watching is actors playing cross type and getting out of their comfort zones and doing something like that. And he was a blast to watch. I've loved him ever since.
Oh, he's amazing.
He's a really funny character.
But most comedians, or most people who start their lives as comedians, turn out to be really talented actors.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like Tom Hanks started out just being funny, and he is a really, really talented guy. So I think in order to be a good actor, you need to be able to sort of humanize your character. A good comedy actor, you need to be able to very efficiently humanize your character, right? And if you can't do that, you're never going to make it in comedy. And so I think a lot of comedians are actually really, really good.
I agree. I love Billy Connolly's take on. Did you ever hear his joke about Christian rock?
No.
Oh my God, guys! If you get a chance to watch it, he's talking about how like Christianity and rock and roll should never be allowed anywhere fucking near each other. And he's like, because he was like in rock and roll, he's like heavy metal rock and roll is supposed to be like, I am the devil and I wanna fuck your mother, like Ozzy Osbourne stuff. He's like, but then Christian rock is like, meow, now he is my savior.
So
fucking amazing.
Funny story about that. I was at some local club around Texas, and they had a Christian metal band, right? So they're up there all praise Jesus, and I want everybody to, raise your hands and lift him up and blah, 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 and all this fucking spiritual bullshit. And then right before they're playing the song, swear to God, this fucking singer gets in the microphone and says, now get in a death pit. Like, what?
That's so fucking weird.
Like, yeah, I feel I'm going to go outside now.
Oh yeah, man. It's like, ugh. I've seen a few, like, I used to kind of go around the gig scene. Like there was a thing. Mrs. Demon will know what it's called right now, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. It was like this metal gig scene we used to all go to, and it was really heavy, like stuff from like Finland, and there was bands from Germany, and then Irish like melodic death metal and melodic Christian metal. Fuck's sakes. Melodic Celtic metal, all crazy heavy shit. And there was not an open mic as such, but at the first hour of the show, which is common enough, I guess, they'll allow one or maybe two bands to go up and play a couple of songs or whatever to just get a bit of exposure. And every week without fail, there was these Christian bands that used to come up to try to convert people. It's like, you are at a death metal concert. You are not going to convert shit. There's no way you're going to convert anybody at a death metal concert.
Yeah, it just doesn't
Everybody's
work.
off their tits. They're all drunk. They're all fucking smoking dope and mostly fucking in the toilets and everything. Mind you, that's not what I was doing in the toilets. I was wrecking that shit. But
again, toilets. All of his anecdotes. Have you noticed this?
There you go.
Noticed they all gravitate towards toilets, and I use the term gravity and toilet and Irish demon in concert very deliberately.
I have never met another person whose bowel movements occupied so much of their thoughts and time.
It's amazing.
But
and
since
never
we're
used to
talking
be
about
that way.
heavy metal, I want to give a shout out to Green Room, which
Yes.
I still think is an awesome film. So
another Patrick Stewart playing cross tight.
yep, and Patrick Stewart playing cross tight. My word, yeah,
He
you kind
blew
of think
my mind.
yes, it does. But that's Picard. He can't be a bad guy.
Yeah, I think I remember the first one time I saw him as a bad guy was Conspiracy Theory.
Yeah.
That government agent,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me what he knows, Jerry. Like,
So
Captain Picard,
I'm
what are you
being
doing?
asked.
You're supposed to be saying engage and shit. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Face-
if you've ever seen him in I Claudius, you should, because he's got hair back in I Claudius. So
that's something weird. That is weird because in Dune, as well, he had a little bit.
He had a little bit of hair
Yeah.
in Dune, but he has more hair in I Claudius, and he's also playing sort of not a very pleasant character. Worth a look. I am being asked when I am next debating a flat earth. I have actually been invited onto MC Toon's channel to debate Hip Hop Hippie. Apparently, Hip Hop Hippie wants to.
Why don't you just?
two of
I got a suggestion for you.
I'm sorry.
Tony,
That's,
I'd like to take a shit on him.
well,
this is what
You want
you
to
could
wreck
do.
him?
This is what you could do instead and have more productivity. Go get yourself some vice grips or channel locks. Okay? And then go stand in front of a brick wall, take those vice grips or channel locks, squeeze them on your testicles, and bash your face against that brick wall. You'll accomplish more doing that.
I will probably accomplish more, but what I intend to do is just sit back and let MC Toon do all the hard work, right? He is one of the most competent. He is one of the. I figure I can get, I can just leave him there and get some chores done or something like that. Just go off and write some stuff.
Given how you dropped bombs on and how you went off on Spurs.
Oh yeah.
Given stuff like that, hip hop hippie's gonna drive you around the fucking bend.
Oh, he's a painful motherfucker, man.
Hip hop hippie. I have actually spoken to hip hop hippie. The first discussion I was on was actually on Fight the Flat Earth. That I got into a debate, a post-debate discussion with Mind of God and hip hop hippie. Hip hop hippie just he just says stuff, right? There's no attempt at an argument. He just asserts what he wants to assert, and that's the end. So I don't imagine it being particularly constructive, but I want to do a collaboration with MC Toon, so I feel quite.
I never would have.
MC Toon's awesome.
I never would have taken you for a masochist, Tony.
I would, man. I bet Tony's got like Eda Gimp suits and like things that electrocute your unit. Can I just say I leaned over a massive tip of the hat for your use of the Australian vocabulary there, and I agree. Spurs is one of those.
Yes. I do. I gotta get
Taddy. Did you see Taddy's comment? Sorry for cutting across.
No, it's okay.
Warmth and depth.
Taddy.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Oh, dude, beautiful. That's the Scottish humor, man. Can't beat it.
Freya, that's probably the truest statement that has come out on the side chat ever.
Yeah. I'm also appearing on, I think, FTFE to talk to somebody called Rachie, who's
a sweetheart, right? So she is dumb as a box of rocks, but she actually will listen to you.
That's shit.
She really is probably one of the easier flat earthers to deal with.
She seems like a really sweet girl.
Andrew Bruce says that I am a gluten for punishment. I'm not sure how to. I'm not sure how to pass.
I think it's because you're all like gelatinous and gooey, and that's you kind of walked into that one. I gotta say.
I figured, I figured it was good for some sort of comedic potential. So.
Johnny, when you said dumb as a box of rock, when you said dumb as a box of rocks, it reminded me of one of my favorite human beings of all time, Christopher Hitchens.
Yes.
He was speaking about somebody he debated, and he said he had an intellect rivaled only by garden tools. He was a master.
He was a master.
Oh, he was incredible. I miss him so bad, man.
He was good.
His writing was phenomenal.
Oh, phenomenal.
I only discovered him in like 2012 or something. He was already dead, so I discovered this guy, this marvelously witty and just so trenchant. He could just tear apart Wu, and he was already dead of cancer. And you're just going, well, that sucks. Fuck
he
you,
does.
universe.
That's terrible.
But,
I think it was my friend Cody who introduced me to the the Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Four Horsemen, yeah.
Right.
And that's how I got how I've discovered Dawkins and Hitchens and Harris.
Right.
And the fourth guy always escapes me. I always lose the fourth.
Dennett, is it?
Dennett, that's right. And then the first time I saw it, and then I was aware of that. And then I saw his takedown when he took down the Catholic Church, and it was, and the way I try to model my structure after him, and because he's such an inspiration, and just the way each hit was harder and harder and harder, and then he just swept it beautifully with a shout out to his friend, to his gay friend
Stephen Fry.
Stephen Fry, that's right.
Another incredible intellect.
Yeah,
beautiful writer. If you have a chance to read Stephen Fry's books, his books about his childhood and all that stuff are incredible. They're absolutely brilliant. But I would recommend, if you get a chance to read anything by Stephen Fry, check out the audiobooks because the way Stephen Fry speaks is magnificent.
Yeah.
And to hear him speak his own words is even better. It's just wonderful. I love listening to Hitchens books read by Hitchens. It's really comforting for some reason. It's unusual, but one of the books I have. Where is it? Oh, I think it might be in Mrs. Demon's room. One of the books by Hitchens, which is wonderful, absolutely brilliant, is his takedown of Mother Teresa. It's called The Missionary Position.
Okay.
Absolutely out of this world. Absolutely brilliant. It's a shorter one, but it's bloody good.
Shorter one, as in it's only 800 pages as opposed to 15 or 16.
Correct. It'll only take 2 weeks.
I've only read 2 of his, which are Arguably, which is a collection of essays. I'm just looking at it, and God is Not Great.
God is Not Great.
Yeah.
His autobiography is fantastic. It's called Hitch 22.
Okay.
So you guys, I'm the odd man out on this. When you guys are talking about all this like deep philosophy books, I'm thinking I got some fucking X-Men in the back.
Well, if you notice, I'm looking over there for the Hitchens and over there for the X-Men. So it's
you're not too far.
I'm in the middle. I'm nicely balanced here.
I'm more like I'm classical literature, shit like that. You know, like Moby Dick and whatnot. But
the Brothers Karamazov.
Oh, for goodness sake! If you're going to bring, don't mention Dostoevsky and literature in the same.
It's so tedious. I don't get why Christopher Hitchens loved those books so much. Because he always references it in his writing, and I was like, fuck's sake, I'm going to have to read this book now. And I did, and I was like, oh my God, this is mind-numbingly boring.
That's what I thought about that's what I thought about the Tolkien books, like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's because you're right. And once you get past The Hobbit, right, The Hobbit is a rollicking good read. You're in, you're out, the story's over. Okay, it is a bit mystifying that this character comes from left field, and he solves the entire problem, apparently, because he's just awesome. The guy with the arrow, who we never met before he comes out and shoots Smaug.
At least we know it doesn't bother you, Tony. That's the most important.
But yeah, that's the most important thing. But it took me 6 years to read The Lord of the Rings. I started reading it 3 times, and I could never get past that goddamn birthday party. Jesus Christ! I'm 60 pages into this fucking trilogy. Can you get on with it, for fuck's sake?
Absolutely agree. I don't need 14 paragraphs telling me about the dew and the leaves and the grass and the forest.
Yeah, man.
I get it.
Okay.
Just do.
You think that's tough? You try the
fucking
Silmarillion.
wet. Don't sit on it.
I have tried the Silmarillion.
You try the
Fuck you too.
And I've read Dune. Like, okay, I have read Dune cover to cover.
Well, Dune is a fantastic book because Dune is dense and Dune is long, but there is at least stuff going on throughout it, right?
The thing that I appreciate the most about Dune is that it is hard science fiction that does not have. There's not a whole lot of exposition. Right, so you're just expected to know what's going on. You're expected to know from the beginning who these people are, what their motivation is. There's almost no exposition. Everything that happens is forward in the story, and the book is like fucking 20 bazillion pages long.
Yep. I feel basic trigonometry is saying that he tapped out on the Silmarillion. And Jeff Roberts says it's impossible to read through. I read through it. You guys should suffer too.
I'm not gonna.
You lightweights.
Yes.
But the thing about it is that it is so racist, right? There's this thing called the Dark Elves who declined to look on the light of the Silmarils, and they're evil because of that. They made one decision and that's it. They are evil forevermore. Gee, can you take your noxious pseudo-racism, shove it up your ass, JRR? Because I don't really care.
That cracks.
And what's with this hatred of wolves too? Yeah.
Of what?
He hates wolves. Wolves are apparently evil, according to J.R.R. Tolkien. And the reality is that wolves are not evil, and actually they have very beneficial effects for ecosystems that they're reintroduced to, where they're natural.
Wolves are
That's
cool. I
interesting.
like wolves. There's this cool wolf rescue habitat next to where my mother lives called Wolf Creek Ranch. And they have these most people who don't really think about it don't realize how gigantic those fucking timber wolves are.
Oh, yeah.
Massive.
They're fucking huge. There's this little teeny tiny, let's say little teeny tiny woman. She's a small woman who goes out there and actually, interacts with these wolves. These are wolves that can't be reintroduced to the wild due to injury or something. But she gets out there and she'll feed them, interact with them and whatnot. And she'll stand on her freaking, she'll stand up, and this damn timber wolf is almost as tall, if not taller than she is. They're amazing. They're amazing animals.
That's reminiscent that's reminiscent of that lady. There was where the hell was she? Was she up in Alaska, but she
was
raised
in Florida and she fed her husband to tigers. Is that the one you think of?
It was a woman who raised wolf dogs.
Oh, okay.
And she had a pack of them. I think seven or eight. And so she was, when she had them, she lived alone. She was by herself. She had this, large pack of wolf dogs, and she said everything seemed to be going okay until one day she stopped coming into town for supplies. So the sheriff went up to go check on her and make sure that she was all right. And I think they found traces of her. What they estimated happened was she was out feeding them, and she fell down on the ground, like one of them maybe got behind her and she tripped and she fell, and the pack took that as a sign of weakness, and took her down and then consumed.
So there are two stories I'm going to tell as a result of that. One was I saw a documentary about the last pack of huskies that the Australian Antarctic Division operated on in Antarctica, and they were. And they had this guy who was in charge of organizing the packs, and they had an alpha. And they were just, he was sledding along, he was sledding along. And then the top female just turned and attacked the alpha male. And everybody else just piled onto the alpha male. And he had to sort of step in and sort of beat them off. Because apparently the top female had decided that this alpha male wasn't alpha enough and needed to go, and all of the other huskies sort of got rid of it, sort of took the same view. But I'm reminded a little bit of a story of a Russian biologist who was an expert in brown bears, Asian brown bears, which are basically a type of grizzly bear. They're just Asian cousins of Alaskan grizzly bears, and he would come back every year with this sort of breathtaking footage of him. He had this male brown bear who he was friends with. The male brown bear would let him get away with stuff like sneaking up and touching him and that sort of stuff, and they got on together reasonably well. And then the biologist went out one season and did not come back. And it turned out, and they reconstructed it, what had happened was his male brown bear friend had died. So he tried to make friends with another brown bear who didn't want a bar of him. And so he followed this brown bear into a copse of woods, and the brown bear hit him once, and that was it.
It was game over.
Just flat out killed him. Didn't bite him, just whacked him once.
Fucked him up.
Just get away from me. I don't want to be your friend. And that would just killed him outright with one blow of his paw. It's not like the grizzly bear was enraged or aggressive or trying to eat him. It was just get the fuck out of my face. Yeah,
I gotta say, I thought that first story that you told about the huskies was going to end with you donning the husky skin and taking over the pack and leading them across the expanses of the Antarctic wasteland with you at the helm.
I've never been to Antarctica. It's a bit of a sore point. Everybody who can
how is it that a glacial isostatic adjustment guy has never been to the giantest glacial?
It's the NASA Jew penguins keep fending him off.
Well, there's actually a story to this.
All right, let's hear it. I want to hear the story.
So after I finished my honours degree, I applied for a job in the research school that I still work at, and when I sort of got the job, and I worked at the job for a year before starting my PhD there. Anyway, just after starting the job, I got these new glasses that were carbon fiber frames, and they were guaranteed to be unbreakable. And I was playing a lot of indoor cricket at the time. And over the next 6 weeks, I got hit in the face 3 times playing indoor cricket. Like, at times in indoor cricket, you are only a few meters from the bat, from the batsman. And if they just hit it straight at your face, there is not really enough reaction time to get out of the way. And that was 2 of the accidents. And then another accident, I was actually a bit further away, and I was lining up a catch, and one of the other fieldsmen at the last minute just reached out to tip it over my hands straight into my. And so for the first 6 weeks, every 2 weeks, I was turning up with another black eye and a new pair of glass frames, until the store ran out of this particular brand of spectacles and just said, we're going to give you another different set of spectacles, but they have no guarantee. So if they get broken, and at that point it stopped, right? But my boss at that point just decided that I was too clumsy to be allowed to do any sort of field work whatsoever. He just concluded that I was completely inept and that I would die pretty much as soon as I stepped out of the research school if I was sent on any sort of field work. So they never even entertained the possibility of sending me down to Antarctica.
Well, if I could send you down to Antarctica, I would.
Oh my God, that's Irish's thumb. Oh, thank God. I thought that was.
That's
dear,
hilarious.
I just saw it poking out on the screen. It was like, oh shit! It's like, oh, thank God.
We just got Tony. We just got PhD Tony a channel strike, not a channel claim, an actual strike.
Dear.
Irish, when you're coming back on the screen, you were standing off to the side, and then I just saw something flesh colored, and then I saw something there when you were messing with your microphone, but your thumb hadn't come into focus yet, and I was like, oh shit!
Yeah, it did look like a ball sack.
I was like, he did not.
Oh shit!
Hey, don't put it past me. Don't tempt me.
Don't tempt you.
You know, you were talking about that guy who was killed by the bears. It reminds me of Timothy Treadwell, who Werner Herzog did the documentary on him called Grizzly, where he lived out amongst. He and his girlfriend. Yep. Mm-hmm. And because he was out there with no defense whatsoever during the time there was a particular food shortage going on. So the bears knew where he was, and one of the a young male came up, and they pretty much killed and ate both of them. So that was pretty rough. But yeah, going out in the wild. There's a video, and Basic Trigonometry mentioned it, but there's a video of a Kodiak decapitating a moose with one shot. Mm-hmm. Just boom, and
they're just astonishingly powerful creatures. Like, and even the black bears, they can rip apart a car if there's a Mars bar inside it. Mm-hmm. So just these amazingly powerful. In Canberra,
Mrs. Demon can do that too. To be fair. After work, she can open a car as if she had a fucking can opener.
In Canberra, there's a zoo and aquarium, and you can pay money to go and feed the animals. So at feeding time, you go around and you sort of you hold food to the animals. And the 2 animals that they were most cautious about, one was an Indonesian honey bear, and they're as their name suggests, they mostly feed by eating honey. But in order to get the honey, they have these huge long claws, about 6 inches long, past the end of their front paws that they use to rip open trees. So if they get a bit miffed with a human being between them and their honey, the human's going to come off second best, not because they're malicious or aggressive or anything like that, just because they're perfectly designed for ripping open stuff. Yeah. The other ones,
they're the same. Oh, sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
That's okay. The other ones, the scariest animals we met there were so we fed tigers, we fed lions, but it was the mountain lions, the American mountain lions, the cougars.
Call those
and
women.
you know,
I was going to say
you may be going to the wrong nightclubs there.
Not anymore.
But they would launch themselves from about 20 feet from it was 6 meters. I wanted to say 6 meters, and then I thought, well, I'm talking to some Americans, so I'll say 20 feet. And now I feel stupid. I should have just gone with 6 meters. Anyway, they'll launch themselves from 6 meters, and then they hung on the door like they would. There was this sort of chicken wire door, and they would just launch themselves from 20 feet away, and they would just explode against it in order to get this chicken. You held up this chicken, they gave you the really long tongs, and you held up the chicken through it, and they would launch themselves from 6 meters away, and they would explode against the top of it, and they would be snarling and hissing and just caterwauling the entire time while they took their piece of chicken and then they went off. And they'd take turns. There were like 2 of them. And you just got the impression these animals would just tear us apart. Like,
Up in New Mexico, when we were up there in the mountains, there were 2 animals that we had to be concerned about. Well, actually 3. Sorry, 3 animals we had to be concerned about was black bears, because black bears are notoriously more dangerous than brown bears. Brown bears actually they don't want nothing to do with you, so they'll just move on. But black bears are aggressive as shit.
Yes, they are.
And mountain lions, because mountain lions, you won't know one's on you until it is on you. And it's just that's what they do. And the third one was American buffalo. And the bison are super, super aggressive. And when you see one, you keep your distance, because they will. It is shocking, that animal, because I've seen an American buffalo like standing jump 6 feet, just boom, straight up in the air over a fence. From just no run, just popping up. They're crazy strong. And of course, if anybody out there has seen that video of that Yellowstone tourist who got too close to him and then got knocked like 12 feet in the air, boom, like that. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
what you were saying there, Tony, about like them, crossing a room in seconds to get at a bit of meat or whatever.
Yep.
Were you still talking about the middle-aged women at that point, or were you talking about the cats? Because I've been in that scenario.
I was talking in the cats.
As soon as I walk into a bar and they're launching themselves across the room,
get away from you.
Pretty common.
For the door.
Yeah, especially if I come out of the toilet, it's
as soon as you come out of the toilet with your chihuahuas. Your shit stained chihuahuas. No, I'm going to put it out there that Irish is actually going to slay with his accent in Australia.
He'll slay anywhere.
The Irish accent.
I told you guys at the time that my buddy and I went out pretending to be Scotsmen, foreign exchange students.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you did. That's so funny.
Yeah, we didn't pay for shit that night.
Man,
Jeff Roberts says, I've always heard if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lie down. If it's white, good night.
Yep.
That's true.
One of the guys I did a PhD with ended up doing. He was the guy they sent down to do Antarctic field work, and he ended up getting sort of a tourism gig up in the Arctic Circle, and there's a video on YouTube of him sort of, telling some guy, giving some tourists the lowdown on what's going on. And one of them says, look over there, there's a bear. And he goes, well, as long as we keep an eye on it, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And he starts talking, and one of them goes, oh, look, it's running. at us.
Well, that's the thing. If a bear starts chasing you, you don't need to be able to outrun the bear. You just need to be able to outrun the person you're with. That's basically.
The big danger with polar bears is outdoor toilets, because polar bears are masters of analyzing patterns. So they assess. So they know that if you go out to the toilet, you're going to be there for a little while, and they can, from a distance, close the distance and be outside that toilet when you come back out of it. So that's apparently the time where you're most vulnerable to a polar bear attack.
If I was in that toilet, my friend, because as soon as I get one way,
you're like, it's already dead.
I don't want to eat these dirty, smelly bastards.
Well, that's true too. But the rest of the non-Irish people in the chat, these are life-saving skills that I'm handing out here. Or you can become Irish and eat chilies all the time.
That's the way to do
it. That's the other way to take it.
Then you don't have to worry about it. And the women keep throwing themselves at you either way. That's the thing. Like when I speak normally, this is how I speak, which is a very mild Irish accent, right? Like your standard mild South of Ireland accent. But when I'm out in the town, and just to kind of turn on the old charm, I go full on fucking like Colin Farrell. You like Dags, do you? I go full. I turn the taps on full whack, man, and I don't pay for a Guinness all night. It's great. Right. It's wonderful. It's excellent, and it's like it works everywhere you go. It doesn't matter what you look like. Like when I came here first, I was like a fucking I don't know what. I was like a two-legged hippo, and I still got away with murder out here, man. It's great. It's great.
I heard an Irish joke today. Would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear it. I would love to.
Paddy and Seamus are out fishing in the boat, and Seamus catches this mermaid who says, "If you let me go, I'll grant you a wish." And Seamus goes, "Okay. Well, I'd like you to turn the ocean into Guinness." And bang, they let the mermaid go, and bang, the ocean it turns black, turns into Guinness. And Paddy looks at him and goes, "What did you do that for? Now I have to piss in the boat."
Oh, fuck's sake. You know what? Those Irish jokes, right? We actually have, I'm not kidding, a Texas version of that. There's literally Texas jokes, and I've got one for you. This Texan goes to Ireland one time, and he goes into a bar in the west of Ireland, and they wouldn't be used to tourists, like, but they know what Texans are like. So this Texan walks into the bar, and he goes up and he sits down next to this old man at the bar, and he's drinking his Guinness. He was like, "Hey, sir, came over here from Texas. I'm really happy to be here, checking out your beautiful country. What do you do for a living?" He says, "Oh, I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer myself." He goes, "Oh, great. What kind of a farm do you have?" He goes, "I have a huge 200-acre farm down the road there. I do cows." He goes, "Well, 200 acres? That's not very big at all." He says, "Well, on my ranch, it takes me 2 days to drive around it." So the guy turns around and goes, "Oh, geez, yeah, I had a car like that once too." The other one was a Texan walks into a farmer's market in Ireland. So he's walking along, and he picks up a piece of fruit, and he says to the guy, "Hey, sir, can you tell me what this piece of fruit is here?" And he says, "Well, that's a grape." He says, "A grape? Well, in Texas, we got grapes the size of apples." So he says, "All right, yeah." So he walks along, and he picks up another piece of fruit. He says, What's this piece of fruit here, sir?" And he says, "Oh, that's an orange." He said, "Oh, well, in Texas, we've got oranges the size of watermelons." So, "Oh, is that right? Yeah." So as the Texan's walking away, he swings around, and his camera hits a Brussels sprout. Oh, shit, I said that wrong. Oh, well, forget it. Son of a bitch.
And you fucked it up.
A cabbage, right?
I'm fucking out of here.
That's
well done, Tony. Yeah, he knocked over a cabbage. Yes. He knocked over a cabbage with his camera, and the Irish guy says, "Come back here and pick up that Brussels sprout." Fuck's sakes.
As Eileen Dover points out in the chat, we had the same joke, except that we use kangaroos, and the Australian goes, "That's a grasshopper." the Texans going around saying, "Oh, we have bigger bridges, we have bigger what," and then this kangaroo hops past, and the Texan goes, "What's that?" And the Australian goes, "Ah, it's a grasshopper." And yeah.
You ever hear about the Texan that went to Kerry?
No.
He's driving along. He's driving along through the ring of Kerry, which is the beautiful mountain area.
Yep.
And the mountains aren't very high. And he was like, "Back where I come from in the United States of America, we got mountains 5 times this size." He goes, "Oh yeah, well these are actually bigger. It's just they're down in a hole."
Nice.
Well, he's driving along one day, and he has the Texan in the car with him. And the Texan looks out the window and he goes, "Oh my God, look at that! There's a rabbit in that pothole over there." He said, "That's not a rabbit at all. That's a donkey."
It is one of the Irish jokes I remember, I believe, from school. Is there's an Irishman trying to lure his donkey under a bridge, and this passerby, the donkey's refusing to go. And a passerby goes, "Well, what's the problem here?" And he goes, "Well, his ears keep on brushing the bridge, and it annoys him, and he won't go under." He goes, "Have you tried digging a trench?" "Well, don't be stupid. It's his ears that are too long, not his legs." Anyway,
so I think given
perhaps we should move on from racist jokes.
Given all these. Given all these jokes, I think Johnny. Johnny stepped away for a second. Okay, cool. Yeah. I can actually tell this joke because I've told Johnny it before. I've told Johnny it before, but I haven't told you guys.
Right.
So, this was the last joke that my dad ever told me before he passed away. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a little senile old man. Little senile old man lived in a nursing home, and one day, being a little bit senile, he decided to let himself hang out. So. Yep. Being a little bit senile, let himself hang out. And then one day, a little senile old lady, she came along. She saw him letting himself hang out. And she, being a little bit senile, asked, "May I hold it?" And the little senile man was like, "Certainly." And so the two of them spent the better part of the day like that. The little senile old lady would hold the little senile old man. Well, this behavior continued on for a while until one day the little senile old lady came over and saw another little old lady holding him. Well, they simply wouldn't do, but being a woman of class, she held back and she waited until the other senile lady got up and went to the restroom. She approached the little senile old man and said, "I don't understand. You used to let me hold you, but now you have her holding you. What does she have that I don't have?" And the little senile old man looked up at her and said, "Parkinson's."
Oh my God.
That is very appropriate. That is exactly the sort of joke that I want on my channel.
Yes. Did you hear my one yesterday, Tony? I was meditating. I was meditating yesterday. I got in touch with my inner self. Last time I ever buy cheap toilet paper.
Dear oh dear. Well, that's very appropriate for you. All of your anecdotes seem to revolve around some sort of toilet operation.
Shitty jokes.
What did the grape shitty jokes exactly? What did the grape say when it was squashed? Nothing. It just left out a little wine.
Yeah, I was too slow with that. Yeah. I have a mathematician joke for you.
Shit.
Oh, great! This is going to be so exciting. Hold on, let me just gather all the neighbors. Hey guys. I'm sorry.
No, you guys. No, this. You're reacting perfectly. You're just doing it ahead of time. You haven't heard the joke yet, but it really does suck. What's purple and commutes?
Oh shit.
An abelian grape. Ha! 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 Yeah, none of you get it.
Oh man,
that was hilarious. I couldn't laugh because it was so funny. I was afraid I'd pass out, if I'm honest.
I love we call ourselves the Four Beardsmen of the Apocalypse, and it seems very, very serious. And then this is what they get on Sunday morning.
Yeah. Usually, the whole idea was supposed to be, what would you say? A bit more serious, but fuck it. We've had a long week.
Fun with this, right? So that's the idea.
Oh, I was looking for stuff. Often sort of we are supposed to get together and discuss. My joke, But anyway, that's
See,
all.
you just turned it all on its ass with that hilarious joke, and now we can't.
Now we can't recover.
How can we get serious after a joke like that?
But I was looking up stuff to discuss. We are supposed to. Demon sets us homework. We're supposed to go away and look for stuff to discuss on this show, and I went away diligently. And in the last 15 minutes before the show, I was looking up stuff that I had seen on the web to discuss here. Serious science stuff, and then
the shitty joke started.
No, I was have you heard about the Higgs boson? They can't get it to misbehave, apparently. Physicists, the people at CERN have been doing all of these experiments on the Higgs boson, but they can't get it to do anything that isn't predicted by the standard model. So it seems to perfectly obey the theory, which means that they are absolutely none the wiser about any of the questions that they have. They have all these questions that they'd like to answer, but the Higgs boson isn't answering them.
I know some of those words.
Right, it just agrees.
They were words?
Actually, and given that we're supposed to come up with our topics and like that, and I was kind of curious because it just hit news here in. I was first going to talk about how Amber Geiger is now fighting her conviction. She was a police officer here in Dallas who was convicted of murder for killing someone in their apartment. Big sensational thing.
That's the one who entered the wrong apartment.
Yes. And
that black man entered the door and she shot him.
No, he didn't even answer the door. He was watching TV.
He did.
She fucking barged in, gun drawn. The guy's watching fucking like Sports Center or some shit, and she's, who the fuck are you? And shoots him.
Well, and she threw herself on the mercy of the court, and she got 10 years for murder. She's this whole thing, and now she's fighting to appeal that and get it knocked down to like 2 years like that. So I guess prison doesn't sit well with her, being a former officer. But I saw that was in the news this morning, and then I saw something I had to get Tony's opinion on, and it was something that my friend has talked about a bit: the one electron universe.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so I think I've heard of this, that there's only one electron in the entire universe, and basically it's all of the other particles we think we see are just this thing fooling us to some extent.
It was I think it was John Wheeler called up Feynman, and he was positing, and what he posited is why he understood why all electrons have the same charge and the same mass.
Yep.
And that his hypothesis was that because they're all the same electron. And that what we view as, and that the way they move through the universe, the world lines and how they move through the universe is that, and that the reverse of that is what we see as positrons.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you, I'm a geophysicist, and this needs to be borne in mind with what I'm about to say. My understanding is that if you look at electrons in a sort of particle wave duality sense, then they're just a probability wave. They're just a potential state, and so all of the electrons we see can be theoretically at least expressed as just one really large probability state, I cannot claim to know enough quantum theory to make that theory make sense. But I am aware that this is out there as a potential theory. Yeah,
I'm in the same boat there. My quantum theory isn't quite up to scratch, so I'd rather not comment on it. That's actually, that being said, I did come up with a new theory of inertia. but it's not going anywhere.
That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
laughed
that's
at
why
it.
people laugh at terrible jokes.
I want to say that I wanted to step back to the murder charge, and I have to say that I feel like, to some extent, the American police officers are often let down by their training. Yeah. They are trained to be terrified whenever they're in a situation that they're unfamiliar with,
yes.
and then they're equipped with a gun.
And there's no ongoing training. That's a huge issue. I've got a lot of friends who are police officers here who had been police officers in the States, and they were blown away by how over 2 years continuous training, and you are under the microscope for every stroke of your pen. In the States, in a lot of counties and small towns, and even in some of the bigger cities, you get 6 or 8 weeks training. You're given a gun and a squad car, and off you go. Of course, you're going to be terrified. You have no concept of what could or could not happen because you haven't got any on-the-job training.
No, it's worse than that. They take these guys out to self-defense training, and they say, "Look, here's a martial artist with a dagger-shaped stick of chalk or a knife-shaped stick of chalk. If you are within 30 feet of this guy, without your gun out, he will kill you." This is standard self-defense training.
Yep.
I've been through that training. Yeah.
And you will end up with chalk all over you, and you will end up with the conviction that, holy shit, these guys can kill me at any point. See, and they end up really scared.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were the same when I went through my training. It was much the same. You go out into the real world, and then you're terrified, and it's very hard to think critically, especially in the moment. I've had weapons pulled on me on numerous occasions. It's not fun. It's fucking terrifying, and I can tell you this much: having a taser gives you absolutely no peace of mind. In fact, having a taser makes matters worse, in my opinion, with genuine on-the-job experience. Because here's the thing. If I pull my taser on somebody, the either one or two things is going to happen. It's going to de-escalate the situation, and they didn't want to actually hurt you, and it's like, okay, shit, he's going to tase me. Or it's like, right, now is my chance, and they go for you.
Yep.
I have done plenty training on all of these different things. If you fire a taser, the chances of that connecting and working are so minute. I mean, there's so many calls now, and it's only because the public think that police officers should use tasers that's why they still have them. Tasers are not ineffective by any stretch, but they're not effective in the way that the public want them to be, which is that, if he's got a knife and you've got a gun, that's not fair. Well, what's not fair is that he's drawing a knife on you, and now you have to potentially use lethal force against this person. And people say, well, why don't you tase them first? Well, because tasers don't always work, or they could be too close to you. And the thing is, the effective range of a taser realistically is actually only it's less than 10 feet, realistically. The amount of distance that somebody can cover, how long it takes for somebody to cover 10 feet, even my fat ass, I can cover 10 feet with a knife in less than about a second. So if you fire your taser and it doesn't work, then you have to draw your firearm.
For those of you
who had an education. So if you pull your taser and you fire it at somebody at a range of about 10 feet and it doesn't work, and I can tell you now, I've seen tasers personally being there when 2 tasers didn't work on a guy, and both connected, and he didn't go down because he was high on meth or whatever. And now, thankfully, that didn't end up as a lethal force situation because he didn't have a weapon, but it very easily. If he had a knife or a screwdriver, there's no question he would have gotten smoked. But thankfully, he didn't have a weapon, and he was able to be subdued, and people got injured doing that. So it's one of my biggest gripes when people are like, why didn't they just taser him, bro? Because you're so close. You can't do anything. But 30 feet, you need to be able to... like what I would do at 30 feet, I would have my firearm ready, and I would have my taser aimed, shoot the taser. If that doesn't work, then instantly switch. And it's a sad reality of the job that I do, but more so the job that the police do. It's a very sad reality, and people go, oh my God, you murdered a guy with mental health issues. And it's like, okay, that fucking sucks. But it doesn't matter what frame of mind somebody is in.
Here you go.
If they come at you with a knife.
Here's the problem.
Here's the problem.
Here's the problem. Everyone wants to talk about. We're still too much into reactive mode, right? So it's about.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with what you just said. Talking about you murdered a guy with mental health issues. That is the biggest thing that I take away from what you just said. Simply because we in America, in the States, we ask our police officers to do way too much. They have to be mental health experts. They have to be family counselors. They have to be
social workers.
They have to be so much first aid, everything. They can't focus on their one job. The one job to keep people safe with as little lethal force as possible.
Yep.
This is a reason why. This is a reason why that I support defunding the police and taking a little bit of that money away and putting it towards those mental health programs.
Well, I kind of think that you can defund a lot of the anti-drug effort.
Yeah,
That's you want to see violent crime in the States go away. You legalize all drugs, every last one of them. You legalize every last one of them, and violent crime will drastically drop.
And so you can defund, you can reassign funds that, from my perspective, you are actually just wasting. A lot of the the anti-drug law enforcement is actually just wasted effort.
It is. It's a total waste of money.
And you're losing, and the government is losing tax revenue, potential tax revenue in the deal. But realistically, sort of if you've got a law enforcement officer or a corrections officer who professionally has to deal with people who can, without any warning, present a threat to other people, they have to be empowered to defend themselves.
Absolutely.
And they have to receive a level of training, but also a level of I think that there's a lot of reactive rather than proactive assessment. I'm going to confess something here, and perhaps I shouldn't in a public environment. I've been hospitalized for depression in the past, and routinely, if you ever get hospitalized, they will take your blood pressure and your pulse, and they will assess your emotional state while you are in their care. And this is not something that is actually routinely done to people who are in the corrective services and of law enforcement. But it does give you some indication as to whether or not this person can be trusted to remain calm, or whether or not they're likely to go off in the near future. And it strikes me.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But here from a practical
hang on a second.
perspective,
there are a couple things I want to address.
Sorry,
there are a couple things I want to address in the chat when Tony's finished, because there's some really good questions that have been posed there, and I want to address those when Tony's finished with his.
No. I am finished. So
right. So Amy Hogan says we seriously do need to redirect those funds towards mental health services. Absolutely agree. If we would hit the problem where it starts, then there would be no need for lethal. Well, there would be a much less need for lethal force. And then Taddy Bogle says, do you think the police in USA are becoming too militaristic? Absolutely. I will tell you this right now. There is a podunk police department in Alabama somewhere that has a town of like 15 people that has a fucking tank. There's no need
that's known.
for
There's
any
no
police
need.
department. Any police department to have a fucking tank.
Out here can do it, and the police in Ireland don't even carry firearms. So there is no need, right? The thing is this, right? And this is just to preface what I'm going to say in a minute. I want to get back to Tony's point because it's a really good point. But what I'll say is this, right? Here in Australia, well, I can't speak for other states, but I can speak specifically for Western Australia, because I've got a lot of friends here who are police officers, and I've got maybe 3 who have been involved in police-related shootings. And thankfully, the death rate in police-related shootings here is low. And I've noticed that here, you know, somebody gets shot, they go down, and then they're arrested, and then they're dealt with. Whereas I've seen videos come out of America where they just get mag dumped and they get absolutely blasted, and they have no chance of survival. But then again, there are the reasons for that. I won't get into that right now because I think that that's going to open a whole other can of worms. But here's the thing. If you look at the statistics for all of the police shootings in probably the whole of Australia, because we don't have a quote unquote gun culture here, most people don't have firearms here. But because of that, the vast majority of police related shootings here are people with severe mental health issues. And the last, I think, 4 or 5 here in Perth have been people with severe mental health issues, schizophrenia and other serious mental health issues. In our custody center, I would say 80 to 85% of the people that we get in the door have profound mental health conditions, either drug-induced or otherwise induced, but profound mental health issues. And so when it comes to assessing people, just picture this scene, right? In my unit, which is it's kind of the worst of the whole lot because it's where people come directly from the street from police custody. And so it's the place where you need to have the softest hand. And, you know, my job is to be kind to people. That's literally, you know, sometimes it gets nasty, but my job is to be nice and calm people down. That's kind of my thing. But the problem is this, right? When you've got 300 prisoners coming through the door, the reality is our assessment is very brief. We ask them, do you have any medical conditions? Do you take any medications? No. They just want to get in the door and go to sleep. And then they have a massive seizure, and then we find out they have severe epilepsy, but they never told us. And that's the problem. There's not enough background being done before these people come into custody, or just having it on the system so that when we have their name pop up, because they all have prisoner IDs, that we know, okay, this person has hepatitis, this person has, like, you know, there's a lot of bloodborne illnesses and stuff. And we are made aware of that because it directly impacts us. But so, yeah, it's a very, people who don't work in the environment can look at it with a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they
jaundiced. You can
it's kind of like
you get a misrepresentative view.
That's right. I get that a lot where people are like, why didn't they just shoot the gun out of his hand? It's like,
so we do have this issue.
I've actually seen I've had this argument with somebody where they're like, why didn't they just shoot the gun out of his hand? It's like, well, I target shoot. I'm a bloody good shot with a pistol. I couldn't shoot a gun out of someone's hand.
Well, but here's the thing:
20 meters away.
In any kind of target training, shooting training, if you're shooting for anything other than center mass, you're an idiot.
Doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
You're damn right.
But the
if
problem
you shoot
that
somebody center of mass.
Well, yeah, center mass.
There's more
you're just of the increase of the chance of you actually hitting target. Center mass greatly increases. But also, there's another aspect to that, right? Yes, that's where all the important body parts are, all of the important organs. But here's the thing: somebody center of mass. Number one, it's a huge area of the body, so you're going to hit something. Number two, the impact on that area is massive on the lungs and heart, so it drops people and may not kill them. If you shoot somebody in the leg, there's a very good chance you're going to hit an artery, and they're going to spend 20 minutes bleeding out. And the ambulance can't get to them because there's firearms involved. It's horrible. So this idea of why didn't they shoot him in the leg? It's like, well, that could be way worse. And if they miss, guess what? The cop gets killed. Or some innocent basic trigonometry says we need another emergency service for mental health and social situations. Absolutely agree, and it has to be a non-lethal force. I mean, you can have police backup in that situation, right? So you can have just in case. But the first people through that door should be mental health professionals or EMT services to help de-escalate.
Yeah,
I could not disagree more. I'm afraid.
There is a sorry. I'm going to step in. Yep. One of the points I would suggest is once somebody, you know, it's like, and I'm going to draw an unflattering analogy. So a rabid dog, for instance, has done nothing wrong, but they present an unacceptable risk, right? Yeah. They present a very immediate threat to the people around them. And so you put the dog down. And if it comes to a situation, you know, and I realize that I've made a very unflattering situation there, but there can be points where a human becomes a real you just need to assess them
Absolutely.
as this person is a risk to the people around them, and they need to be put down. We had a siege in the Lint Cafe siege in Sydney.
That was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, where they had the opportunity to shoot the guy early and they didn't, and he was actually really dedicated to sort of escalating the situation to the point where he had to be shot. And in the end, 3 people died, whereas they could have intervened earlier and had it only been 1. And that was a situation where they were trying not to shoot the perpetrator, who was clearly mentally disturbed.
Well, that's the part where we need like training. That's where training has to come in, and it's not just a 6 weeks course before you actually get into field. You have to have real applicable training as a police officer. And we don't have that in the States. We don't get any kind of evaluation until after some crazy shit's happened.
Not our state and local police, but our federal agents have extremely extraordinarily trained. Yes,
that's right.
Yeah, they do.
So there are something.
And how many FBI or DEA related shootings are there by comparison? Very,
but then again,
very few.
I mean, that's a little.
It's different. I get it. It's a different
kind
environment.
of an unfair comparison because how often are the FBI or the DEA brought out? I mean, if you do remember, the DEA and the FBI did escalate the situation at the compound in Waco with the Branch Davidians.
That wasn't FBI or DEA.
That was the ATF.
That was the ATF and the FBI.
The ATF fucked that shit up, and then the FBI got left holding the bag.
Well, I was there at the time.
Yes.
Can I just ask you guys?
So the ATF screwed it. They did. But they didn't intend to. I just want to throw in one stat. The United States has 10,000 different law enforcement agencies with no standardized training.
Yeah, that's right.
So they have, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, county law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and a bunch of different, they just have so many law enforcement agencies, and they need to sort of just reduce that shit down so that it's sometime manageable. The statistics on the number of black people that are shot by law enforcement are actually only voluntary, so there's no requirement for law enforcement agencies to hand that over. And it kind of, so the stats we have on that tend to be an underestimate of how bad the problem
that's a good point.
So
can I just ask you guys, can we just pull this back to a point earlier? But I just want to address something in the comments. And now I'm absolutely open to hear other people's opinions on this, but I'm just going to, this isn't me appealing to authority or anything. This is me just purely from my experience and my knowledge of law enforcement and all that kind of stuff, right? So I've seen this come up a lot where people are like, we need a new group that goes out and goes into these situations. But here's the major issue with this, right? Picture this scene. And this is sadly a very common scene in America. And I think that's testament to the fact that there are a lot more people there than there are in Australia. So, I mean, obviously the numbers are going to be higher. But picture this, right? You have got an individual who's, going through some serious mental health issues, maybe on drugs, and has a weapon. Now, maybe we don't know he or she has a weapon, but they call up, they say they're going to do this, that, and the other, and they just decide to send out this mental health service instead, or with police backup. And this mental health officer, we'll call them, goes into the home, is unarmed, and then gets taken hostage. What happens then?
Yeah.
Now you've put somebody else's life on the line.
We've got to remember that,
and they're not prepared to defend themselves.
But again, we're not. I would never suggest sending somebody in, sending a mental health expert in that situation. That mental health expert, if they should be properly trained in how to handle a situation like that before being sent in. B, that's look. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that my father told me when I was very young, and it's a little backstory. My father, he grew up in Los Angeles in the 50s as a Mexican American. So he has dealt many negative interactions with the police in that area, being Mexican American. So my father put it to me this way when I was very young. He said, son, being a police officer is one of the worst jobs you can have, simply because you can do everything right and still end up dead. Now, that being said, that being said, if you are a police officer or want to be a police officer, you better know this. You better know that fact, that you can do everything right and still end up dead. And if you're okay with that, and if you still put that badge on knowing that, then you have to accept the risks born with that responsibility of your job.
Absolutely.
Now, if the whole idea is, well, I'm scared, I was afraid for my life, then get the fuck out of the police department. We have no use for you.
Yep. Well, I
don't know. I don't think I agree with that.
I want to come at this with a personal anecdote. My ex-wife decided to email the Australian Federal Police, who are the law enforcement agency and where I live, with a document claiming that it was from me. And so I got a phone call from them saying, we're quite concerned about you. Would you be happy with some officers coming by? And I was like, why would you? What issues did I raise, do you think? And I was actually coming back from Sydney. I was on a bus when they phoned me. And so I was quite anxious about what the hell was going on. But I got home, the police came around, and they actually said, look, this is actually a large part of what we do is mental health checkups. This is a lot of our responsibility, is checking up on people, we have concerns about. And so they sort of put me in, they basically assessed me on the fly, assessing whether or not I was a threat to myself or others. And then, once I'd explained the situation to me, they said, well, we should probably go and assess your ex-wife, because it sounds like she has a bit of a problem. And so what you were saying there about, police should not be the people into that situation, I think the police can be the people into that situation, provided they've received training in how to respond to mental health issues. And I think that's the issue, that a lot of that there is so much irregularity in the US training of law enforcement officers.
Absolutely right.
And that's what I think, because if you are in close quarters with somebody who is mentally unstable, then you need the physical skills to protect yourselves at all times.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: you have people who do that, who that's their job. Their job, handling people with mental health issues. They get proper training in restraints, how to move, how to position themselves, how to use their weight against their potential patient's weight. They get that training, right? So they actually do that stuff. And I'm not suggesting that in every single situation we need to send in mental health professionals first. I do think that mental health professionals need to be a part of the solution, even in already highly escalated scenarios. I
kind of think that sort of when you're in somebody else's home and you don't know where their access to weapons is, you kind of need a law enforcement perspective.
Oh no, I absolutely agree.
What is this person doing? What angle for? And you kind of need to view yourself as being on hostile terrain. And I'm not sure that taking a mental professional from, say, a ward situation and putting them into somebody else's home is the same as having a police officer who's appropriately trained.
Yeah, so I want to make perfectly clear that's not exactly what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting that they have
I know what you mean.
Are trained in those situations where it's not necessarily a known. We shouldn't be sending armed police officers out for somebody who is trying to corral an autistic child who's escaped from the home that he's in.
Yeah,
right? We shouldn't.
I agree with
we
that,
shouldn't be sending
100%.
people. I think that it has to be part of the solution, right? I'm not suggesting that we just take police out of it altogether, right? If you're sending in cops in a mediumly escalated situation, along with mental health professionals, people who are trained in how to handle themselves in case shit gets wild, who are trained into assessing a situation, looking for in the corners, looking for potential weapons could be. That way they can protect themselves and everybody else in the room. That's where the training has to be there.
I think that's the key element that we all agree on, is that the training in mental health assessment and reaction needs to be there, and whether or not that's brought by a police officer who has been appropriately trained, or a mental health professional who has some sort of training in self-defense.
It could be a branch of the police force that goes in.
That's the way I think it should be.
That.
Because here's the thing, right?
And
let me give you
to Ilya Moon and and other people. We started out really, really frivolous,
talking about
with Irish Demon telling an apparently endless series of stories about his toilet misadventures, and now we've ended up trying to solve mental health policing problems. Mental health policing problems.
Let me give you this one.
Oscillated wildly across.
Let me give you an example, right, from a personal perspective, and I do get what you guys are talking about, and my take on it is that it should be like a community engagement officer that we have now, but with much higher training, and they should get paid better for it and all the rest of it, right? But here's the thing, right? I'll give you guys an explanation, right? Yep. So about just before the coronavirus and all the rest of it, we had a guy come in. And he's usually kind of difficult. We call him Mr. Angry Man, right? Because he goes ballistic. But he came in and he was very subdued, and he was, he didn't seem to be agitated. And he's actually a very pleasant man when he's not agitated. So he comes in, he puts his bag through the scanner. He signs the documentation because we had to take a few things from him or whatever. He was in flying form, and he was saying good morning to everybody, and so we thought, he's probably off the drugs for a few weeks now and he's dried out or whatever, and we were like, all right, man, have a good day, take care. And we turned around, and next thing there was a scream, and it was the most blood-curdling scream. And I turned around, and he had grabbed a lady, just a passerby, and he had a ceramic knife, so that's how he got through the metal detector. He had a ceramic knife held up to her throat, and it was just by some amazing luck that there was one of our police prosecutors who don't carry weapons or anything was there, and he managed to just grab him and the arm with the knife and pull him down. And that's the thing, you just never know what's going to happen. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that they should be coming in hot, blowing down doors and AK-47s and stuff pointed, nothing like that. But I think there needs to be a clear balance there, that I am here to help you, but if you pull a weapon on me, I'm going to have to defend myself. And just one other point I wanted to cover, Johnny O's point about, the whole thing about if you're afraid for your life, you shouldn't be doing the job. I get the point of that, that you should be a little bit tougher and be able to deal with it. But here's the problem. If you have a police force full of people who are not afraid, and this is what we were told day one when we started our defense training, if you're not afraid, then you are doing something wrong. Then you are not thinking about the situation clearly. Because it's not that you should be terrified of everything, but you need to be heightened. So if you're going in there and you have no fear, that's going to result in more shootings, more gung-ho, like, fine, if he's going to try kill me, I'll fucking try kill him. And I feel like it's the wrong mental attitude for a police officer. Police officers should be weary and careful, but not terrified of everything.
Yeah. And that's the point that I'm trying to make, right? So it's too much that everybody's terrified. That's like the fallback excuse for a police shooting. I was afraid for my life. How are you afraid for your life on a fucking traffic stop? Why are you afraid for your life there?
Yeah, no, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like that Minnesota incident.
Well, actually, going on that, there was a comment in the chat.
Hang on. I just want to raise one question. Why the fuck does Irish not have a hat on?
What the fuck, Irish?
So the rest he made the rest of us wear hats.
Because
why does he not have a hat on?
I was playing the long game.
Okay, back to you, JL.
So Mal Daly in the chat. Now I don't agree with what I agree partly with saying. I don't agree with that. But what he said is the police aren't interested in helping mentally ill folk. All they want to know is have they committed a crime or not. Police are scum.
Hang on a second. I believe he's specifically speaking about the police in the United States, and I can see why he would make that observation.
Okay, maybe
why he'd make that statement exactly. Yeah. So, that goes. But that's part and parcel. It's two sides of the coin because the community's effect on the police is. The two work hand in hand. The police effect on community's effect on the police. I can understand where his mentality comes from, given recent events and given the shit that we've seen in the media, and widespread coverage of police action is suddenly so huge because of the internet. So I get where he's coming from, but it's mentalities like that feed into this perception, or this presupposition about what the police are after or what their function is. And the vast majority of people going around saying, "Oh, police are scum. They're just there to give you a hard fucking time." And then you get into there's never a cop around when you need one, and the cops are always around when you don't need one. And when you have that mentality, and that mentality becomes a current running through the community, then the police have to respond to that. Because they know that this is the way people feel about them, and then that escalates the police. And then when they escalate, we escalate, and so on and so forth.
I just want to address a response that Mal made saying that he's had personal experience of the scumminess, right? And I definitely understand that, okay? I know from my work hundreds of police officers that come in every day. I have sat there, and I'm not, you know me, guys, I never sugarcoat anything. I don't try how I feel about these things. I as a person who's worked in the law enforcement sphere would never ever trust a police officer on the job. That's just the truth. I'm just being honest, because I have seen officers lie in court. I have seen them get caught lying in court, and I've seen the tactics that are used. So definitely there is issues there, and I'm really sorry that you had a bad explanation, a bad situation there, and that sucks. That's terrible. And I have seen these situations happen. I've seen them personally with colleagues, and I've called them out for it, because I was like, I've often said, what you did there, you escalated that situation because you were looking for a fight, and that happens. Well, here's the thing, and you made a point here that I want to touch on. You said search YouTube, you'll see police assaulting mentally ill folk. But what you won't see on YouTube so much is the millions of other interactions that police officers have with people on a daily basis. Millions of interactions where it's like, "Hi sir, just wanted to let you know your tail light's out. Can you get that fixed?" Cool. Or the one where they drop the old lady home, or the one where they go out and help somebody who's lost their child. The ones where they pull people's kids. There's one the other day where they pulled a kid out of a pool. I've seen police officers break down crying after a court case where they've said that guy didn't deserve that, or where I know a friend who's involved in a police-involved shooting, and this guy tried to kill him, and he had to shoot the guy to protect himself and his partner, who was on the ground with serious head injuries. So he had to do it. He didn't kill this guy. He just injured him. And that ruined him. It ruined his career. He had to leave the police force because of it. So to say that just because you've had a bad experience, and I feel for you, and I know when you have a bad experience with something, your automatic reaction is to lash out against that thing and say they're all the same. But here's the thing. Oh, no, Mal, I have to disagree with you. He said there's as many bad interactions.
Yeah, I got to disagree with that.
That is 100%. It's probably the exact opposite. There are maybe 30, it's probably 70-30 split. If I were to venture this,
I wouldn't even go there. I'd go 80-20. The only reason it feels like so much is because it's all we see on the internet.
Is that guess what?
It depends on the community that you live in. I will say that it depends on the community that you live in.
It does.
And that's part of the problem, right? So that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem that we have in the States, is that it's so disproportionately bad for one section of, or one group of people than it is for another group of people.
You're right.
Yeah, and when we don't have, those police officers. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you were to go into inner city, let's say the east side of Chicago, where it's really, really bad at the moment. Right. if you were to go into inner city Chicago, pick any young African American male or Hispanic male and ask him how he feels about the police.
Fuck the police.
He'll probably tell you he hates the cops. Fuck the cops. Blah 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 blah. You ask him, have you ever had a bad interaction with the police? Chances are they probably have had one. Now, you could blame them and say it's their attitude, or you could blame the police. Doesn't matter. Chances are they've had it, where it's been a bad situation for them, right? Now, you go to a small country, nice little town in Kentucky, and you ask the lovely old white family, what do they think of their local? Oh, they're lovely guys. They do this. Yep. And probably everybody in that town loves their local cop who's always there to help people out. So there's a huge disparity between poor inner city communities and wealthier or more rural communities. There's a huge difference.
I just want to make a point. So when the concept of a police force was first developed by Sir Robert Peel, the idea was that they were part of the community. So there was a police officer on every corner in London, and they walked around their block. They knew everybody who lived on their block, and they interacted with the businesses there. And this persisted for a long time. In American, for instance, beat cops would walk their beat, and they'd know the businesses. They'd know
everybody.
They'd know everybody, and so when you had, there was recently an incident where a man fell asleep in a car in a fast food franchise.
I know I'm going to challenge you on this one, Tony. I'm going to have to. But go on.
And some policemen showed up, and my argument would be that had the police who showed up and the man who fell asleep had a pre-existing relationship, had it been, had they been familiar with him and had he been familiar with them, then that situation would not have escalated in the way that it did. And so my point would be that community policing is actually very effective at deterring crime, and resolving potentially inflammatory situations without escalating the amount of force needed.
I agree.
But statistically, it's expensive, and it doesn't result in a lot of arrests. It results in just lower crime rates.
It doesn't look good for the numbers.
It doesn't look good for the numbers because police forces are encouraged to arrest lots of people because that looks good.
Well,
that looks good.
So the
in numbers,
reason
as
why
opposed to,
I'm sorry, Tony, I have to interrupt you because the reason why that looks good, especially in the States, is we have a prison industry system here. Everything's privatized.
Absolutely.
Jail and I, Jail Team Skeptic and I were talking about this last night. That, for instance, here in Texas, prisons are privatized, and if they drop below, I think it's a 76% occupancy rate, then the state has to reimburse them for whatever losses they incur.
Yep. That's right.
So what the state does in order to keep from having to reimburse is they go out and arrest people. They create a situation in which people are going to go to prison. So that's problem. That's one thing I wanted to challenge on. The second thing I wanted to challenge on is...
Sorry, I don't see that as a challenge.
Well, okay,
right?
fair enough.
I see that as a flaw with the system as it currently is,
enough.
As opposed to the system I am.
No. That's not what. I absolutely agree that community policing is much more effective. The thing that I did want to challenge you on when it comes to the history of and again, I'm speaking strictly on the United States, on the state's history of police departments. Police in the South were slave. They were what were they called? People who they took people whom hunted slaves, like escaped slaves, and they took those guys after slavery was abolished and turned them into a police force. Because one thing that the Constitution didn't do when it granted, or when it said that all slaves are free, what it didn't do is it said if you were arrested or if you were in prison, you were no longer freed. And if you look in the South, all the punishments that these chain gangs had, it was tending cotton, picking crops. It was all the slave labor shit that they
That's
were
right.
they were they were doing before. So the police system in this, at least in the South, was designed to re-enslave black people. That is historically, I mean, that's
well, there's a
Yeah.
there is an inherent, so this is African Americans in the US are more likely to encounter police officers. Once they encounter police officers, they're more likely to be arrested by police officers. Having been arrested, they're more likely to be charged. Having been charged, they are less likely to receive bail. And that's a huge,
it's a massive issue.
is a massive problem, because
I,
as soon as they don't receive bail, they don't have a job anymore. They can't afford to defend. They can't afford defense.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They're more likely to receive. They're more likely to be found guilty by a jury, and they're more likely to receive a longer sentence, given an identical criminal history, to a white offender. So at every point in the U.S. legal system. And I think in the Australian system as well, there is a bias against African Americans that leads to them, and that leads to a significant negative economic impact on the family. So they don't have a main provider. That person is in jail. Now they're down to a single income, who is a woman who is probably lower paid, who cannot afford child minding services. So so the legal side of the equation feeds into the socioeconomic side of the equation, and that in turn, it's the socioeconomic side of the equation that actually leads to the propensity for criminal behavior. It doesn't matter what race you are; it's your socioeconomic background that determines whether or not you are prone to criminality. So there is a sense in which the legal system, as implemented in the US, is currently basically oppressing African American communities and individuals.
I wanted to say something just directly to Mal on your comments, and I don't want you to feel like my comments were or your view, because trust me when I say this, I've met a lot of people like you who have had really bad experiences with police officers for whatever reason. Doesn't matter who's at fault or what the scenario was. I have seen it multiple times, and I completely understand where you're coming from. But here's what I'll say to you, right? I don't know where you live in the world or anything like that, but in a lot of countries, here in Australia, there are some, in the United States, I know there's a lot. There's a lot of outreach programs and stuff like that. The reality of life is that there is always going to be police officers. Realistically, there's going to be somebody fulfilling that job. There will always be bad ones, and nobody, and trust me when I say this, nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. But here's what I would suggest to you, right? Just try, just once, and you can answer the question for yourself. Just reach out to a police officer, because a lot of what you're seeing is when you engage a police officer, they might be in a shitty mood. Why? Well, they could have been on the job for 12 hours. Their last job might have been pulling a stone cold dead, child out of a lake, or it could have been a shooting if it's in America. Some of them, have a shooting incident and go straight back on the job. So their job isn't easy, and they deal with very difficult situations, very high stress scenarios all day long. So if you have a bad interaction with them, just think for a minute what they might have seen on that job. And here's the other thing. I would recommend reaching out to a police officer, be it on an open day or whatever the case may be, and just sit down with them. You will find that a lot of police officers really want to hear about these situations. So if you sit down to them and go, look, here's what happened. Here's my story. I had this incident where I was out with, I believe you said it was your brother who didn't understand the police officer's commands. And the thing is, put yourself in the police officer's situation there. He doesn't know if somebody's on drugs or has other serious issues or has a weapon, so they need to control the situation immediately. But anyway, all that aside, my advice is just reach out to a police officer, be it a community engagement officer in your area, and just say, look, I'd like to sit down and just have a chat and tell you my situation and what happened. And what that does is, one police officer says it to the other, who says it to the other. You can
Mm-hmm.
change the whole way that particular police service deals with people. So there was a
Yep.
big issue with one of our local police services where it's in an area where the majority of the community is Indigenous Australians, and they're statistically way more likely to end up in jail for really stupid shit. But anyway,
Yep.
all that aside, right? All that aside, um, once the community got together and was like, hold on, this is getting out of control. These young men are being put away for stupid shit. And once they sat down with the cops and explained the culture and the situation that they live in themselves and how they find their lives, they were able to find a bit of common ground and things started to calm down a bit. So that's what I would say is reach out, have a chat with somebody. You know, you might not like them right now and you might never like them, and that's fine. But when you get a chance, just sit down, talk to them, just say, hey, look, this is what happened to me. And they might
Yep.
say the same thing as me. Like, I've been in situations where people get in my face over something stupid, like they don't want to sign something. And I have to turn around and go, I'm thinking to myself, you don't realize that I've just sat in a court where I've seen a child tell about the horrific things that happened to them, and I have to sit there and listen to that. And now you're complaining about a ticket or whatever it is.
Yep.
And so you have to just put yourself in their shoes for a minute and
Yep.
and realize what's going on. But I will say, I am sorry that you had that terrible situation. I'm not a police officer, but I work in a similar environment, and I do understand both sides of it because I've heard it so
Yep.
many times. So that's all I would say on that. And Mr. Andret says, my cousin is a cop. He's always been a dick. Being a cop made him a bigger dick. Look, trust me. I know a lot of guys like that. A lot of my colleagues are like that. They were born dicks and they grew around it. And you give them a badge, you give them a
Okay.
gun, you give them a pair of handcuffs and a bit of power, and
Straight
it
to the
goes
head,
straight
yeah.
to their head. So
Yeah,
don't think that
so-
I'm just defending all cops because I work in the environment and my friends are cops. Not at all. I know a lot of cops who are assholes. And if I got stopped right now on the way to the shops, I wouldn't answer
Nope.
jack shit. I wouldn't say, I would say, look, I work with police officers. I respect you, but I know what you
Yes.
guys are like. I wouldn't
Yep.
trust them as far as I could throw them. As much as I appreciate them and I respect them, I wouldn't trust them. So trust me, I'm right in the middle here. I'm not taking a solid side. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate for both sides. So anyway,
So
that's
if
my
I
little
can
soapbox.
slip a word in edgeways on my own
Says
fucking
you.
channel, I just
Sorry,
want to
it's
give
just
it.
important.
That's okay. No, what you're saying is actually really true. I just want to give a huge shout out to Ilya Moon and Sit Down with
Yeah.
Debunkers for hitting 1,000 subs.
Awesome.
Congratulations to you guys.
Oh,
Awesome. And
congratulations.
just and I made it sound like I was telling off Irish, but actually, you know what he was saying there. Communication is just so key to so many situations.
Everything.
Yeah.
And what Simon Spencer says, you're absolutely right. Simon Spencer says the best thing you can say to a police officer is no comment. But here's the difference. There's a big difference between saying no comment, I'm not talking to you, you're a cop, and saying, I'm sorry, sir, but with all respect in the world, I'm not going to be answering any questions.
Yep.
And there's a huge difference. And that's what I've done where I've been stopped in uniform. And I'd say to them, with respect, I answer any questions.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, they just wave you on because they don't want to deal with that shit. Don't get all sovereign citizen and be like, you have no right to blah, blah, blah. Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, they're the ones that are in the position of power in this scenario. They're the ones that can find a tiny issue with your car and fuck up your whole day. So just be respectful. It might hurt you physically to be respectful, but just be like, look, without being disrespectful, I would rather not answer any questions at this point.
So
do you have something to hide? Absolutely not, but I'd rather not answer any questions.
I'm going to reassert my ownership of this channel, and I'm going to drag this back to so last week, if you weren't aware, you must have been living on another planet. J.L. Warren, Irish, and Johnny O pioneered, and I sat in for a very uneventful 6 hours.
I thought you had a great 6 hours.
Yeah,
we did a hugely successful charitable drive. The reason I want to draw back to that is that the fundamental mission, as I see it, of the Trevor Project is communication. It's to let people know that they have a right to be heard and understood and sympathized with, and that there are people who have been through exactly what they've been through and that nobody should be made to feel bad for being who they are. And communication, clear communication and honest communication really improves a lot of situations. So if you feel you're having a bad time with police officers, communication is a way forward from that. It isn't guaranteed to work. In some cases, communication isn't necessarily going to sort everything out, but a lot of people can feel isolated or on their own or persecuted because of lack of communication. And I feel like the incredibly worthy cause that JL JL shouted out for us was just an immensely successful project, but it fits into the same mold of communication is key to solving a lot of these problems, and also not stigmatizing. It's okay to feel not good. It's okay to feel like, if you're in trouble, if you're having difficulty dealing with your life at the moment, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, this is getting on top of me. And there are people out there that will listen to you, because that's all okay. Everybody feels that way at some point or another. So just communicate. If you're ever in that situation, please just let somebody know.
Couldn't agree more, Tony.
Yep.
I will say that if there, to all of the quote good cops out there, if you see some fucked up shit happening by another cop, hold that officer accountable, because at the end of the day, the 1 or 2 or 10 or 100 or 50, however many, those bad cops are putting your life at risk. So hold those fuckers accountable. 100%.
Hold them accountable.
I don't care what you have to do. That's right. I don't give a shit. If they want to talk to, these were the brethren of cop, fuck that bullshit. Because that asshole cop is going to get you shot.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right. We kind of went by that mantra in our place. It's not like, people think, oh, you're ratting out your brothers. No, bullshit. You're protecting your other brothers and sisters.
The ones who aren't assholes.
The ones who aren't dickheads. You're protecting those guys. You're protecting the ones that are doing the right thing, the good dudes, just like you. So anyway, let's move away from the
good night to Commander Darklight.
Good night, Commander.
Yeah.
Everybody salute the Commander.
Yes. He is a really awesome individual. And so I feel really. For those of you who don't know the format, presumably you do because you're here, but we rotate between different channels, and I feel incredibly fortunate to be the host of the Four Beardsman tonight, because these are guys with some really important voices that deserve to be heard, and I'm also grateful for the people showing up in the chat, because I feel similarly about you all. So thank you, Commander Darklight, for being here, because you are an awesome individual. So
absolutely.
Just want to give him
check out his Instagram.
A special shout out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, his Instagram's amazing.
His costume builds.
Gives me the shivers.
Oh man.
Oh, I don't know how he has. Did I ever show you the shirt that Commander Darklight made for me?
I don't think so.
I have not yet seen the shirt.
I will be right back. Just you wait. It's from my other channel.
He's grabbing that. Did either of you happen to any part of Fight's little debate last night?
I was actually asleep because I woke up at 4 a.m. to be on sit down with debunkers, so I slept through it, and I was disappointed when I woke up that it was already over.
Yeah, it was a quick one. It was.
Yeah. And so I played about 30 seconds towards the end, and I just got the impression of somebody who is completely ill-equipped to be in a discussion with anyone, really.
That opening when he was like, well, how would you know if you just walked outside? If you didn't know any of your previous information, or how would you know you lived on a ball? And because Fight was in the Navy, and he was like, as a sailor, stellar celestial navigation doesn't work unless it's a ball, and just crickets. The number of times Craig would drop something on him and it would just be silence. As it came out, and the only thing he came up with is like, no, I don't believe that. There's a, no, that's not true. Or it's like, no, he shows the pictures from the Himawari and he was like, yeah, this is a live image taken 7 minutes ago of the Earth, and he was like, no, that's not true because the Earth is flat. And he was like, that's how I know that that's fake, is because the Earth is flat. So
presupposition.
It was it was one of the, at least it didn't turn into a giant dumpster fire, like Hip Hop Hippie or Spurs or any of that shit, but yeah, just I don't know where he dug that cat up.
Yeah, well, actually, that guy was in the chat a lot and on previous debates. So he was in the chat for the Spurs debate that I had, and so he was constantly sniping in with comments. And Craig just said, "Well, why don't you come on for a debate?" My God, I don't know what he was thinking, because he was completely unprepared for any sort of intellectual exchange. I don't know if he was drunk. Oh, there's Irish.
Check this out.
His shirt.
So
I
did see that. Yeah, I did see that shirt.
This is a 17th century-ish style. They're called
it's a Jacobite, isn't it?
Can't remember. Yeah, it's like a Jacobite. Yeah, it's it's what a kind of a middle of the road person would have worn between a peasant and a tradesman. But yeah, it's like a pirate shirt kind of thing. But it's really well made, like with the leather tassels and everything.
That is extremely
nice. Remarkable, and it fits so well. It's so comfortable too. So it's made. It looks like it's made out of like a really nice organic style linen. So it's kind of like a very
that's what
light brown, unbleached, which is what they would have worn. So the purpose behind this, if you lads and lassies in the comment haven't come across
Jessica
G. Shameless plug. Here comes the shameless plug.
Ah, she's arrived.
Yeah. So that jacket has more wrinkles than I do. There you go.
Oh, that's lovely. But yeah, the purpose of this shirt is for my other channel. It's just called Irish Historian for now. I might change the name. So I'm going to be doing some history stuff where I go out to, the old convict jails and like where the convict ships and stuff came in, and be telling you guys a little bit about that and doing some Irish history and some Aussie history.
You're going to go down to the whaling stations?
Oh my!
Yeah, I'm going to try to get down to some of the stations, and I want to go out to the gold fields and do some videos out there. I need to wait until I've got a bit of a better income for that, because traveling anywhere in Australia is expensive. So
it is.
But I'm definitely going to start doing those videos.
You could go up to where the Japanese invasion of Australia occurred.
Yeah, up in Darwin, isn't it?
No.
That was the bombing.
Where they did the bombing, but there were apparently.
This shirt is perfect for the use of a goblet.
It is. It is. It does fit extremely well.
Let me just hold on a second. Bear with me. What have I done? I need to screw around with the lights a little bit. There we go. That is sexual.
For you, maybe, but
I've even got the little.
I'm not going to kink shame here. I'm not going to kink shame here, Demon, but that's really a niche sort of porn.
Hey, let me tell you this, right? That's a good. You make a point, right? But I tell you this, sir. Since that TV show came out, that Scottish TV show, what was that called? That fucking
Outlander.
The one about Outlander.
Yeah,
that was all the women that Jen's work could talk about. All the lawyers and the doctors were like, "Oh my god, this dreamy," and I'm like,
all right, so here's a challenge for you, Irish.
I couldn't help it. It was like
because there's no difference between Scottish people and Irish people.
No.
Racist.
They're just our crazy cousins that were like, "Hey guys, I know an even rainier place. Let's go there." Well, yeah,
that is the second time today you've done that joke.
I know.
I
fucking love that joke.
Irish, this is Irish. This is your challenge for your history channel. When you're doing this, you have to have like a lighter episode, dressed like you are, with a goblet and the lights and all that, reading James Joyce's poems to his wife.
I'm going to do it right now. James Joyce's dirty poems, isn't
Well,
it?
they're just his love letters to his wife.
All right. There was the Japanese apparently landed a reconnaissance force in Australia. They just died of starvation.
That's right. Yeah, I did hear about that. A lot of them like died of thirst and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Out in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it was
north of where you are. When I say his neck of the woods, Western Australia, the state where Irish lives, is 6 times the size of Texas.
It's got the same surface area as the moon, doesn't it?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't know that stat. I'm afraid, but it's more than 6 times the size of Texas, and it has a population of 1 million people.
Yeah, so take that, Texas.
Pretty much. So in terms of population density, it is basicly empty because most of them live in Perth, right? Outside of
almost
Perth,
all of them.
there's maybe a bit more than 100,000 people outside of Perth where Demon hangs out. So it's just this barren landscape out there.
Until I got here.
Until you got here. Yeah, and that is another very niche porn site that you should establish somewhere far away from my channel.
Was it like Jacobite scat porn or something? Prawn. I think we have to call it prawn on YouTube, don't we?
Okay. And
I'll read some dirty James Joyce. I got that. No problem, man. My dirty little what's he call it? My dirty little fuck something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it was yeah.
Okay.
So who wants me to read some James Joyce?
On the Irish History Channel. It has to be on the Irish History Channel.
No way.
Yes.
That's going to be like family friendly. No way.
That's history right there.
Kent Holman would be able to show that to his people.
That's history.
My God!
You could make it funny.
Horrific.
You could make it funny and beep the harsh stuff out.
Well, all you hear is
so that people get a sense of what it was like.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Tony, do I have permission to read this on your channel? I won't put in the dirty words.
Sure. Why not?
The last drop of seed has hardly been squirted upon your CU next Tuesday. Before it is over, and my true love for you, the love of my verses and the love of my eyes for your strange luring eyes comes blowing over my soul like my dirty little frigging mistress, Nora.
Okay, so yes, permission revoked.
Hold on. Oh God, I can't wear that. Jesus, okay. Murphy. No, I definitely can't wear it.
Where's your hat? You.
I'm gone back to Jacobite. Man. You didn't have
you recidivist.
You bust his balls, Tony.
You're backsliding. Yep. Put your goddamn hat on. You.
Hey, here's a James Joyce quote for you, Tony. While you're on your little buy yourself a pretty frilly pair of knickers. I sent you a little banknote.
How dare you? How dare you?
Knickers, at least for yourself.
How dare you? Intercept my Amazon orders.
Oh my God. Oh, what the hell? This fits perfectly in with my earlier story. This is from titled Fat Dirty Farts.
Oh man.
At every fuck. Oh my good God, Tony, I'm gonna need express permission for this.
No.
This is brutal.
Sure,
no, Tony,
don't let him
do it. Don't let him do it, Tony.
I don't have any monetization to put it.
You should leave it up to the chat. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, hit number 1 if you want me to read fat, dirty little farts. Because I'm telling you right now, it's brutal. It involves queefs.
It is very brutal.
It is brutal, man.
JL.
So yeah.
Are we hitting 1 if we want to hear it?
Yeah, hitting 1 if you want to hear it, and 2 if you want to.
Thank you, Raptor.
Got a lot of ones, guys.
Yes,
some
most of them from Raptor. I can't help but notice. And I had you on the live stream, young lady. You owe me better than that.
Oh, we're getting a lot of 21. That's 21 ones.
That's right.
So
21 ones.
That's actually true. That's a true mathematical statement.
So this is one of the Nobel laureates of Ireland. This guy is considered one of the greatest writers of all time.
Nobel, you dick.
We always pronounce it Nobel in our school.
Then you've been getting it wrong. So get it right now that you're in a civilized part of the world.
This one is called Tony Can Suck a Dirty Fart Out. At every, are you ready? Are you ready, lads and lasses?
I am ready. Yes, I am
Fucking
seated.
now, boys. Right, I'm telling you now straight because this is gross. Right. At every fuck I gave you, your shameless tongue come bursting out through your lips, and if I give you a bigger, stronger fuck than usual, fat, dirty farts came spluttering out of your backside.
Oh, well. It doesn't get any more romantic than that. You know.
Oh, it gets worse. Actually, there are other ones where he talks about taking dumps on each other.
I hope Nora will let off no end in her farts in my face so that I may know their smell also. Just go to the toilet after me, my friend. And then he ends it with, "Darling, do not be offended at what I wrote." Oh my God. All right, this is the last one because this is entitled "Big Fat Dirty Snaking Thing."
Yep.
Fuck me if you can, squatting in the closet with your clothes up, grunting like a young sow doing her dung. Yep. A big fat dirty snaking thing coming out slowly from your backside. Again, me.
So,
it just rolls off the tongue. That's right.
It does. It does.
So there's laugh tracks. I agree. It's funny shit, man.
So there's a early medieval Celtic poem where the poet says that he is going to be as persistent as a fly at a dinner. Right, he's just not going to go away. You can't get rid of him. And I considered that to be one of the least effective romantic metaphors I had ever heard until just a few short seconds ago, where it was knocked unceremoniously down the podium into an also ran status. Mr. Joyce has effortlessly destroyed any claims it might have had to be the most unromantic metaphor I have ever heard.
Yeah, it's pretty out. You wouldn't find that on on one of those Hallmark cards, for example.
No.
You know, Mozart was very like that too. It was really popular around that era. Mozart had a song called, I remember our teacher telling this. I studied music for a little while, and our teacher, it's called Leck mich im Arsch. I'll let you guess. For those of you who don't speak German, have a wild guess what Leck mich im Arsch means.
Does it mean hey, bake me a cake?
Yes. I didn't know you spoke
Fluent
German. Holy shit.
Fluent German.
Fluent. So yeah, Leck mich im Arsch. He had a lot of really weird stuff.
That might have been why he died young. That lack of attention to personal hygiene is going to come back to bite you in the end.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And this is why I prefer Beethoven, right? You don't get that sort of kinky crap from Beethoven.
Well, at least you never hear about it anyways.
Ludwig looks after you. Yeah,
that was terrible. Such a bad joke.
What was that? I missed
said,
that. What did he say?
You don't hear about it.
Yeah.
That's
because Beethoven was deaf. Yeah.
Who was that English poet and courtier during King Charles's reign?
Charles I?
No, John Wilmot.
Oh, I've come across that before. John Wilmot was the what was that?
Mike Aracta says Fur-Elise, lick my ass. I might be mixing up. Fuck you, Raptor.
But he was known for his similar poetry and some of the shit he did. He died and he pretty much fucked everything that moved during that time. I think he died at 33 as a result of venereal diseases.
Wow. Have you ever heard the conspiracy theory about Marlowe?
Who?
Kit Marlowe.
Yes, so Christopher Marlowe was a mid 16th century playwright and a literary figure who died in a bar fight.
Yeah. Stabbed in the eye.
Stabbed in the eye, and there is a theory that actually that was a fake, and that he went on to live a fictional life after that they made up a new identity for him after that event under the name of William Shakespeare.
I've heard the counter one to that Kit actually died in that bar fight, and that Shakespeare, having known him, and then the two of them kind of being competing playwrights at the time, Shakespeare knew where he lived and stole the body of his work.
Okay.
Because and the reason that comes up is because at the time William Shakespeare's earliest writings, his earliest stuff, wasn't, there was this particular style to his writings at the time, but then after Marlowe's death, his writing changed dramatically. And what they think is entirely possible, it hasn't been founded, or hasn't been proven like that. But what they think happened is that Shakespeare got a hold of Marlowe's body of work after his death, because Shakespeare was most likely present at Marlowe's death, and so then he left and really quickly ran and grabbed the body of his work because he knew where it was, took it home, and then made changes, slight changes to kind of pass it off as his own. And because Marlowe was dead, nobody could refute that, and his stuff had not been published or produced yet, so it all came off as his. So because there's writing similarities, and there's similarities in the styles between his later work and Marlowe's known work. So yeah.
So that is a conspiracy theory, and this feeds back into Iris's birthday stream where I was caught masticating on screen for everybody to see. Where I asked who was 007, whose signature was 007. That was John D. But an employee of John Walsingham, Queen Elizabeth I's head of security, widely regarded as the founder of England's Secret Service, was an employee of his was in the bar where Marlowe was killed. In fact, he was at the table where the fight erupted that had Marlowe killed. So there's a conspiracy theory that somehow this is related to Queen Elizabeth I, and that she wanted him killed, or she wanted him to go into hiding, or whatever. This just goes to show that some people have too much time on their hands, as far as I'm concerned.
It's strange to see that kind of civil angst between the lizard people.
It is. It is.
Typically they work together, but occasionally, I guess, things erupt amongst them. Yeah.
Yep. And one of them just gets stabbed in the eye and has their life to work taken. Yeah, it happens every now and again.
Lordy.
Jeff Roberts says that he is masticating while he watches us.
That's dirty.
How dare you?
Who is?
Jeff Roberts.
Oh, nice.
Well,
what are you masticating?
Hey there.
That's a personal question, and I will thank you to stay out of his damn business.
Yes.
I'll thank you to stay out of my personal affairs.
Hey, Nerd Angle. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Nerd Angle.
Is Nerd Angle on the phone? Oh, just in the
He's
chat.
in the chat.
Good to see you, Nerd Angle.
Yeah. And
I haven't seen Glass Monster today. Glass Monster, you out there?
I haven't.
Number one. Number one.
He
if you're
voted.
there,
He voted for your
Yeah.
vote.
Oh, he voted.
He's
he's
hiding.
No,
he's lurking.
No, Miss Mike Raptor, I do not enjoy fishing, and I am not a masturbator. Actually, it is Johnny O you want to talk to, who is king of the master debaters. So
I don't know if I'm king, but I'm definitely in the court.
Glass Monster is there. There he is.
There he is. That's funny. I didn't see him earlier. Good to see you, Glass Monster.
Yeah, Johnny's more like the jester of that court.
As long as I'm in the court, that's all that matters.
You're like the fool from The Merchant of Venice.
You know, it
Is
only
it The
works
Merchant of
if you
Venice?
can get it out in
My
one
fool
sentence,
usurps.
right? You can't say you're like the fool in the
Hold on. I wasn't joking. I was being dead serious. See, just goes to show, you know, jackass. The fool, the Merchant of Venice, is actually one of the smartest people in the whole thing. So,
okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
You know, the whole thing about my fool usurps my bed. The fool basically controlled the king. So, so suck it, basically.
There you go.
Smartass.
Hey, your
Yeah.
mustache is
I
looking
was watching
particularly
some films that I think
high
that
IQ-ish.
J.L. Warren will enjoy.
It is very high IQ. My mustache.
Sorry, Tony.
What's
That's
that, Tony?
okay. Well, I was about to say that J.L. Warren. So on yesterday, I was watching Gretel and Hansel, which I quite enjoyed, but also The Color of Space.
Yes.
Which Irish was saying sounds like a piece of crap, but I actually really enjoyed. I thought it was great.
What was it again, Tony? I can't remember what it was.
It's a Lovecraftian story, a Lovecraftian adaptation starring Nicolas Cage, and he does the sedate to completely insane transition just incredibly well in this movie, and it's entirely called for. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I saw what you were when you were shaking your head at the mention of Nicolas Cage's name, Demon. So, okay, yes, the debate rages on as to whether or not Nicolas Cage is a good or a bad actor, and he is. And in my opinion, I have seen the body of his work. He is an excellent actor.
He's an excellent.
The problem
is,
I never said he wasn't.
actor.
The problem, no, he is an excellent actor.
Horrible actor.
Okay, there's two things. There's two things. People have to remember that Nicolas Cage got his start. His primary training as an actor is in German expressionism. That is his number one inspiration. So he brings that. So if you're familiar with early German works, you see why he does the whole like the big eyes and the big the big expressions. He goes big because that's where his inspiration comes from. Right. That's where he gets most of his. Man. And he applies that to virtually every single character. It's heavily on display in Raising Arizona, in Face Off. And he did not really rely on that on Con Air, but anytime he has a big character, he goes that direction. Now, unfortunately, Nick got himself into some very serious financial troubles. Yep. He had some stuff stolen from his house, and because of that, that's why he is churning out like 75 movies a year.
Wait a minute. It's not because he got shit stolen from his house. It's because that asshole thinks that he needs to have 33 fucking castles, 2 yachts per sea.
No, he is in financial difficulties.
He has financial difficulties for a number of reasons.
The biggest reason being he can't stop spending money.
What the hell are you doing there, Demon? You're all over the place.
It's just Streamlabs.
It's not me, man.
Streamlabs. It resizes shit all the time. Sorry.
Johnny.
And the reason, on top of that, on top of his financial difficulties in mismanaging his money, his house was broken into and several very, very expensive things were stolen from, like his Action Comics #1.
So, was that stolen?
Yeah, that was stolen from his house.
Oh, no way.
He had the means to get himself out of financial difficulty, but then after the break-in, he lost those means. And so, given court cases and investigations and blah blah blah, all of a sudden he's strapped for cash. So he starts churning out movies at a mile a minute, just taking every single project he can get. And all of us pretty much relegated Nick Cage to like, oh, he's in the later stages of his career. He's just punching out movies no matter what. He doesn't care what the plot is. But eventually he does land a few solid gold ones. Mandy was solid gold. That movie was fucking amazing and was perfect for him. The Color Out of Space is another one of those because #1, it was a Lovecraft adaptation. So, all hail HP. And it was brilliantly written because the people behind Mandy were the ones that were behind this. And it gave him the opportunity to apply that German expressionism that he loves so much and go from a very sedate character to absolutely batshit insane.
But
it serves the story. It serves
the one scene. Like there will be scenes where his character is perfectly reasonable to start with, and then ramps it up to 11. Or there will be scenes where he starts at 11, comes down to normal, and then ramps up again. And it is just really well handled.
That's kind of like you,
like...
Tony. in a debate, like, first of all, he's like, "Hi, I'm Tony," and blah 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 blah, and then somebody says something, it's like, "Fuck yeah, motherfucker!" And you just go out there,
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. I'd love to hear you debate Nathan, whatever his name is.
And Nathan, either of them. I have actually had some people suggest that I need to debate a Nathan. Does anybody know what's going on with Nathan Oakley? Like, he put out a very sort of tantalizing post that there would be no more flat Earth debates.
Oh, I watched
ever.
that. I watched it. He was trying to get people to send him money for a new computer.
Right.
And I checked out the GoFundMe, and he'd raised like over $1,000 for it. So I think we're gonna have his show back.
Yeah, so
I've never watched his show. I've never once.
No, neither have I.
I just can't listen to it. He's a fucking pain in the ass, man. He's an arrogant piece of shit.
This was how I discovered you, actually, Irish. Was you did a review of some piece of derp that I could not stomach watching.
I remember you commenting on that. I remember your comment. You commented saying, "Thank you for not making me sit through all of that," or something.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
I remember that really well.
You mentioned Flat Derp. Have you guys seen Flat Derp's newest?
Oh, it's so funny.
With Sideman Dan and CC?
Yeah, oh my God.
I haven't seen this one. I have not seen this.
It actually was very fitting for me as well.
It's so brilliant.
Okay.
It is brilliant. It's amazing. Definitely check that out.
Yeah, Nerd Angle makes a very good point. I haven't, they get views out of it. But frankly, it's just bad for my blood pressure. I want somebody to argue with these people. I want, them to be shouted down. And so, and sometimes, even Craig and team aren't necessarily presenting the arguments I think are most effective for just shutting this dickhead down. And it gets me sort of fired up. It gets my blood pressure high, and it's difficult for me to deal with. And as I feel actually a little bit ashamed when I lose my cool, but I understand that I say and a lot less when I'm angry than when I'm trying to be calm.
I can completely agree. The debate I did with a bit of orange, I go into every single debate. I was like, I'm going to keep my cool. I have my points here. I have my notes. I know exactly what I'm going to say. And I try to prepare myself the best. But when they start engaging in like either absolute denialism, or they start trying to insert words in your mouth, or telling you what you think or what you believe, or mischaracterize where your position, which is what they do a lot with you regarding science. And bit of orange did that same shit with me regarding evidence versus faith and belief systems. And he just kept driving it home, like boom, boom. He's just like, no, you believe, you have belief structures, you have belief systems. And eventually I just lost my shit and was like, stop. I swear to God. It was like, I'm going to come to the screen.
Can I just say my favorite, and PhD Tony, once you start making shirts, I'm sure everybody will buy them and stuff. You've got to get this quote written on the shirt. That's because birds are not rocket powered.
Birds are not rocket powered.
It's the way he said it though, because birds are not rocket powered, mate. I was like, yes, fucking drive it home, man. Oh,
yes, Little Wolf AK82. I love when PhD Tony hulks out.
It's because you don't expect it. It comes out of fucking like
right. Here's this nice little guy
walking on the treadmill. Everybody's chill. It's the usual flat Earth arguments. Tony's long dicking him, and next thing Tony just goes, "Listen here, you fucking piece of shit." I'm like, who mixed some meth in Tony's tea? Holy shit.
To Microraptor, I have to correct Microraptor. She says, JL Truth believes that you are an idiot. No, Microraptor, I don't believe. I have a preponderance of evidence that you are an idiot.
But the thing that set me off was actually Flat Earth Aussie Jesus. Like, I was trying to explain stuff to him, and I was presenting like detailed scientific expertise.
Fuckwit.
And he was just nattering away.
Fuckwit.
He was just nattering away in the fucking
fuckwit.
And you'll notice every time you have a salient point, Okay, every time you bring it up, and they see you going, they can see, as a lot of these guys have the wherewithal to see where you're going. They see the trail, and then you get to a certain point, and they're like, and they have to interrupt because it's the only thing. Because if you get that out, they're going to be crickets.
Yep. And it just and I have to say, during the Flat Earth Aussie Jesus debate, I was. I think I explained this before. I started drinking some tequila just to calm down while I was listening to him talk, and then I just had some tequila there, and I missed lunch, and I was I didn't have anything else to drink. There was just tequila, so I was hydrating with tequila, and
blame the booze.
I need to calm down.
Seriously, I don't remember the end of that debate. I don't remember logging off.
Funny. Well, it was only 12 hours after it started, so.
That's
like, you know how I picture that, like you sitting there, like with your goblet of tequila, like this, and you're like, your first sip, it's kind of like, Flat Earth Aussie Jesus. Just a second. Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit.
Little Wolf breaks down. Tony, who was that guy that kept calling you sir?
That was Spurs.
That was Spurs. Okay.
Listen, sir. This is what you fail to understand, sir. Is that you haven't taken the proper numbers into your equations, sir. Fuck you, dude. Yeah.
I hate that guy. But that challenge you gave to him, Tony, that was spot on. When you said to him about what was it, to track a ballistic object without using gravity? It's not possible. He was like, "But you're presupposing that gravity exists, sir." It's like, no, we're gonna do it our way. You do it your fucking way and see which one's right. You've tried to shoot some fucking airplanes down with a flat Earth model. It doesn't work.
Now that's a question. That's a question because the argument that we continuously presuppose the globe, but it was the observations that led to the measurements that led to the conclusion that it was a globe. Because if you do just walk outside and stand there with no instrumentation, you just use your eyes and you look, you could see either or. It's kind of like, it looks like this, but we don't know which one. So we create tools, we use measurements, we find out that it is. So why do they keep going back? They know the process at which this information was discovered. So why do they keep harping back to we presuppose the globe? Like, he was like, Eratosthenes did not walk outside and go, I think it's a globe.
You're presupposing the shape of the Earth, sir.
Well, he's like, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing.
I just want to get something in before Irish. My PhD thesis is actually about using a variety of flat Earth approximations. So that's what my PhD thesis is about. It's about detailing a series of flat Earth approximations for glacial isostatic adjustment. So for that purpose, I adapted a seismological wave propagation technique to a viscoelastic medium. But we all, sort of, the flat Earth is the simplest approximation. It's where we start. And the reason we abandon it is because once you get to length scales that are long enough, it doesn't work anymore. So we just they rely on the fact that people don't know that, yes, we've looked at the flat Earth model, it doesn't fucking work, you dickhead.
This is exactly what PhD Tony does. He starts out. Notice how PhD Tony starts really nice and sweet and talking about, oh, this is what I do, and then he ends with, "You're a fucking idiot.
You fucking dick." But the thing is about who was it? Spurs, isn't it? Spurs Schemo.
Yep.
Yeah. So the thing is here, right? All you have to do is if you look at that video back, right? He dodges and weaves, and as I think it was you, JL, was saying that they can see where you're going and they know what you're saying is right. So this guy is definitely a Poe. So he's clearly a contrarian. There's no question about it. Because as soon as you started laying down the hard facts, he was like, "Oh, well, I need to go, sir. I have a prior engagement, sir. Sorry, that's very convenient, sir.
Sir, are you our new science teacher, sir?"
That was the other thing. I'm just the student. No, you're not here to learn anything. You're just here to be a fuckwit.
Be a dickhead.
Yes.
Hold on. Are you? Hold on. Let me look at you closer. Are you flat Earth Aussie Jesus just taking off the fake beard? Because you just called someone a fuck.
Oh,
you're a
dude,
fuck.
we've already called him. We've already called him Daniel Pratt's water heater. We don't have
Daniel
Daniel
Pratt,
so.
Jesus,
Getting
there's
Tony.
no just downside. Apparently I've created flat Earth. Like that's the thing. According to Irish,
flat hat, so you can look like Nathan Thompson.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever since Johnny released his documentary, which we have yet to get real explanation from you, Irish, on some things that I'm very curious on.
I got nothing to explain.
Okay, but ever since he released that, I have seen, and I had to go back and look because after Craig's debate with this jackass last night, he started calling Bob Nodell, the Globebusters, Mark Sargent, and he started calling them disinformation agents.
Right.
So I think we are seeing another schism erupting amongst Flat Earth, in which those individuals, and I think the trigger point was Seek Truth, Speak Truth, where he came out, he turned around, did this whole thing, and now all of a sudden it's getting quieter. The analytics are going down. Now we're seeing a breakup against so we may see the people who were like Oakley and other individuals, they may shut up about it. But that means all we're going to have left are the really
fringe,
psycho ones. Yeah, the really deep fringe ones.
And then it got quiet.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the most awkward silence of the whole night. And it's not like none of it, like we all completely agreed with you and had nothing to say.
What else can you add to that?
Nailed it. And what can you add to that? That's exactly right. So we were all like,
oh, I love that. Little Wolf says PhD Tony goes from Mr. Wizard to George Carlin in seconds.
I don't get that.
You don't know who George Carlin is?
No, I don't think so.
7 dirty words? You fucking kidding
7
me?
dirty words. Okay, fuck.
I'd rather worship the sun.
Tits.
I'd rather worship the sun than worship a god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god.
He has some educating to do.
Yes.
Oh, that guy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that guy. He's the guy that talks about like God and feminism and all that shit, right?
All of it. He talks about all of it.
Yeah. I've seen him on. He comes up a lot on the recommended shit on YouTube. Yeah, he's really funny. I like him.
Funny guy.
His book.
I will pick a bone with George Carlin, who is no longer with us, unfortunately. But he was very skeptical about the concept of anthropogenic climate change. And I would have had a few stern words with him had I had the opportunity.
And you know what he would have told you? Fuck you.
He might have told me that, and I would have said, well, I know what I'm fucking talking about. So how about you pull your fucking head in, you dickhead.
Oh, shit. The tequila's flowing.
For those in the audience who don't know what anthropogenic means.
Just ask PhD Tony.
Can you just remind the audience, Tony, because I don't think everyone in the audience knows what that is.
Anthropogenic means generated by humans or by human actions. So anthropogenic climate change is the result of human influences on climate forcing terms, for instance, carbon dioxide emissions, methane emissions, land use emissions, deforestation efforts, and a variety of other smaller effects that humans are having on the global climate, all of which tend to move in the direction of humanity is fucking itself in the ass without necessarily realizing it. But it's okay because it's only our kids and grandkids who are going to suffer.
And here we are with PhD James Joyce.
That's all right.
I was going to say.
No, I agree.
That's exactly how I was going to say it.
I have particular qualms with a particular generation that fist fucked this planet into oblivion and seem hell bent on just finishing the job as we speak, while we fight endlessly or we fight incessantly to stop them from doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Jeff Roberts says, "Why are you hiding in the corner, Tony?" That's a good question.
I'm working on
it. That's where
this persona's on the this persona is opposite the water heater, and then later in a video he'll be on the other side.
So I was on Sit Down with Debunkers, and it took an odd turn
Just one?
They had their creepy show, which was about black-eyed kids or black-eyed children, if you've ever heard of the phenomenon, which is basically an internet ghost story about children with black eyes and how they're some sort of malevolent presence or whatever, and it's just basically campfire stories.
It hails from the same place as like Slender Man or Siren Head and shit like that, or the whole SCP thing.
Yeah, that's right. And it took some rather weird turns. There was one of which was one of the stories thought that it would be a lot more plausible if it decided to say, well, these stories are connected to Men in Black stories. Well, that makes it all the more realistic,
means
doesn't
it has to be true because Tommy Lee Jones and the comic books.
Well, hang on a second. I will admit that there's some odd footage out there. Now, I'm not saying I fall on one side or the other. The evidence is still too lacking, but I will admit that there is some strange footage out there of I can't say they're government agents. I can't say that they work for any federal agency. The witnesses say that they do, but they have the security footage of individuals who look like federal agents walking into places, walking out of places, acting weird. That has always caught my attention.
That's just my uncle.
That's just me on
but
my
there's
day
only
off.
there's only one cryptid that we have proof for, and we know that Flat Earth Jesus is a Yowie.
Yep.
So.
Well, he does look like a Yowie. Yeah, he does.
An ostracized Yowie.
Yeah. It's I think that fits very well with the available facts. It would certainly explain his disconnect from reality. It just he is one of the more interesting flat earthers in the sense that he seems very sincere about his belief system. But that's
dangerous in itself, though, isn't it?
That's a double-edged sword in the sense that so he seems like a nice enough guy, but he's delusional, and then occasionally, and it's not that occasionally, like once every 1 or 2 hours, he will drop some thoroughly obnoxious comment, like calling Craig a cripple, or slagging Ilya Moon in the most reprehensible and unforgivable fashion imaginable, or calling Craig's children, Craig's son, retarded, or that sort of thing. And you just go, you know what, mate? Fuck you. You can just fuck right off.
I just love to kick his ass.
Yeah. That's right.
Indeed.
Like, I tried to like him. I tried to think, he's just a creepy old weird uncle. But then he became really reprehensible. And I thought, you know what? If I ever saw you, I'd just beat your ass. If you ever said anything to me. I always felt that way about Nathan Thompson. It's like, I fear the day I meet him, because if he gets in my face, I'll fucking knock him out. And I'm thinking, I hope I don't have to do that, but I would love it. I gotta admit,
that's right.
You have a better chance of doing that than we do. You share a fucking continent with him.
No, I'm talking about Nathan Thompson. I'd love to.
Oh, you're talking about Nathan Thompson now. Oh shit!
If I came across him, here's the thing. I know I'd be able to wind him up enough, because I'm good at winding people up when I need to. I know I could wind him I know I could wind him up enough for him to swing at me, and that would give me the excuse I need to beat his ass. Right. And I would. I'm telling you right.
I think he carries a taser with him. He carries self-defense with him.
He may have a firearm.
He does have a firearm, but here's the thing. I'd break his little bitch ass in half before you had a chance to grab it.
That's the thing.
Just want to give a shout out to Martianista, who's stepping away to go to the chat, but she will be listening.
Oh, that's dangerous.
She is.
Thank you, Martianista.
She is Brazilian, but an expert in exobiology.
Oh, that's cool.
So
nice.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. We spoke about it one night. I think it was just you and me, Tony, actually, when you were on my show. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
Yep.
It's actually really interesting how it came up, isn't it? Because I had a question that Mrs. Demon asked me about, and actually, funnily enough, NASA put out a really interesting video about it the other day. But it was about how do they protect other planets from human bacteria.
That's
And then you mentioned about Martianista, which was really interesting. And then NASA put out a video about it the other day, which was amazing how they irradiate it and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Really
So it turns out that James Cameron and his brother are following on from their interest in filming the Titanic wreck. They're also interested in filming the lakes that exist underneath it. And there's a theory that there may be exotic life forms in those lakes. So they're treated as a sort of a test case of how to explore and observe an ecosystem without contaminating it. So James Cameron's brother turns out to be working with NASA on the techniques needed to sort of
that's Lake Vostok.
Flat Earth proof.
Lake Vostok
right there. It's all CGI because James Cameron is the NASA agent.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Lake Vostok.
He has a birthday coming up this week.
Lake Vostok is one of the lakes underneath Antarctica, but there turn out to be a lot of them. So and they're not necessarily connected. So there's a lot of technical assessment that's going into exploring them and working out whether or not there are life forms down there.
So millions of years of evolution in an untouched, uncontaminated environment.
Yep.
That'd be awesome.
That has seen no sunlight.
Yep.
And no change. That could be interesting.
That would be amazing.
And so the fear is that you go in there with something that has bacteria on it, or that has machine oil on it, or whatever, and contaminates the water.
You could wipe out the whole ecosystem.
You could genocide the entire ecosystem.
How would you go about exploring that?
That's an interesting question, actually. Yeah.
So one of the things that they're suggesting is actually, instead of you drill mechanically down to within a certain range of the lake, and then you thermally drill the rest of the way. So by gently warming the ice. So you're not drilling so much as just gently melting your way down without introducing any material from the surface. You're just introducing heat you're basically operating a light bulb. So you're running an electrical current through the end of the drill bit, and that's heating things up enough to melt your way through.
Isn't that couldn't that be potentially problematic as well, introducing heat to that?
If you're gentle enough with it, if you're patient enough with it, then it should not be a huge problem. If you are impatient with it, and indeed this has been done before. So the Americans early on did this thing where they extracted an Antarctic ice core by melting the ice around it, and then they hauled it all out and they analyzed it. But it turns out that the thermal stresses that you've introduced in the ice core basically make it useless, because you cause the air bubbles inside it to basically explode like little hand grenades, and you've thermally shocked the ice core in a way that makes it useless for research purposes. So nowadays they don't do that sort of stuff. They use very gentle mechanical systems. So patience and not rushing it are already well established as necessary for these deep subantarctic. And as Martianista points out, these are the techniques that we would need to explore the subsurface environment on Europa, where there may be life forms. And And I think in Titan, there are also some potentially some ecos that may exist there
That
as
would
well.
be kind of a cool expedition to be on.
Be amazing.
Except, unless it was like the aliens that were under there. Then
Well,
that's not
fortunately, the first stuff there is likely to be mechanical rather than human based. So the face huggers can knock themselves out with the.
Go ahead.
Have you guys seen the alien themed face masks, COVID face masks?
Oh
yes.
Have you seen the Scottish ones?
With
no, I haven't.
curly beards.
It's a little kilt. It's a little kilt.
Okay.
It's awesome.
I was a fan of the ones. Tom Savini, who is a legendary makeup and effects artist here in the States. Tom Savini created custom Jason mask. One, so it's the bottom part of the hockey mask.
Yeah.
I really, really like those.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm curious.
About to interrupt for that.
Oh, I was about to interrupt. Well, I was curious about given that we're talking about space travel and extended space flight, and one of the big questions that comes up in that is the energy costs that that would take to go out there. So, I recently watched because I love Kyrgyzstan, which is a I think I'm mispronouncing that. But anyway, it's a channel on YouTube, and they talk about all kinds of brilliant shit like that. But I was curious, where do you think? Are you familiar with the Kardashev scale?
No, I haven't. No, I'm not.
Okay, so I was kind of curious your take on that, but you may need to read into it. But the types of civilizations we may find in the universe are ranked on the Kardashev scale. Kardashev 1 is the ability for a civilization to utilize all of the energy of its host star.
Right.
And so we utilize all the star. We can function. We can 100% use that energy to basically, assist us in whatever we're doing. And then that brings us to Kardashev 1. And then Kardashev 2 is the ability to use all the energy in your solar system. Kardashev 3 is in your galaxy, and then 4 and so on and so forth.
There he is.
And then it goes into the topics of Dyson spheres and how we might be able to utilize the energy from the sun to get that, using the moon as a base to spring off of to get to Mars, from Mars to get to Mercury, and then from Mercury to tackle the sun. So but I don't know how I didn't know how versed you were in that stuff, but that the future possibilities of channeling energy from the sun was always interesting.
Well, I think. It's an interesting question in the way that there are multiple ways of using the energy from the sun. Solar winds, for instance, provide a form of kinetic energy that you can use. You can sail with solar energy, and you can also have solar panels providing electrical energy, and then you can project that energy. You can you can use solar energy to power a particle accelerator that you can use to push a sail. For instance, that is a proposal for one way to get around the solar system. But I kind of think that actually humanity is at a very critical point in its technological history, in the sense that I consider the next century reasonably critical. We need to navigate it properly, so we have some, from my perspective, is sort of fixed on some sort of nearer field problems.
JL, why are you wearing your wife's panties?
In that sense. He's gone all Bane, but Bane didn't have a beard, so
I have to hide the beard.
You do have to hide the beard, yeah. And there is Dick Dawson in the chat there. Yes.
He threw on his Vader mask, and that's the nearest mask I have to me. This is my
ultimate COVID mask, because if you wear this in a pirate shirt in the store, nobody comes fucking near you. I don't know why.
Carrying 2 chihuahuas while wearing that.
Are you sure that it's the mask and the tunic that are the deciding factor, and that it's not whether or not you've bathed recently?
Hey Tony, you're good at like critical thinking and figuring shit out, right?
Yes. Yes, I
Here's a
am.
question for you. So this mask is quite claustrophobic. It can be quite difficult to vape and to eat gummy bears, as I just managed to actually work out. But one thing I couldn't do. What does Darth Vader do if he gets an itchy face? Does he just use the Force, or does he go like, "Sorry guys, I'm just going to stop the evil for a sec"?
No, he uses the Force. Definitely, he has to use the Force. And he's really good at it. So
he's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Martianisa says everyone is wearing geologist hats. Well, except for Demon.
Yes, at the moment.
Johnny, what the hell is going on with your
hat? My headphones kept falling off, so I had to, fix them and then put the hat on top. It looks.
You look like a 5-year-old kid at his birthday party.
Like
says the guy. Says a guy wearing a Vader mask.
Darth Vader's badass. Little known fact though, Darth Vader was actually a geologist before he became the Darth commander of the universe.
He did kill all the sand people.
He also had a really
do not go there. Do not
Dick Dawson
go
wanted you to flip the mask up and say, "I'm surrounded by assholes."
I watched that movie yesterday.
Which one?
What?
Yeah, Spaceballs. Yeah.
Hell yes.
Oh, I really want to watch that. I haven't seen it. Where is it at?
Netflix. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There are things called DVDs. You can buy DVDs.
Yeah.
Oh, they're those things that they used to use like back during the Civil War and shit, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I gotta see if Spaceballs is on my Netflix.
Oh, I forget you have.
Could we have
Netflix.
solar panels in orbit? That takes up enough solar. Yes, you.
Oh shit! Sorry, guys.
I think you could have enough solar panels in orbit to provide sufficient solar energy for people on Earth. The question is, how do you transmit it down to Earth?
And that's where it got interesting, because essentially we would create a colony on the moon, and then from the moon we'd see more easily to Mars. And then from Mars, we can utilize the energy sources we have there to get to Mercury. And from Mercury is where the real fun begins. And I think they're talking about creating, and it would take like something like 64 or something quintillion solar panels to actually encompass the sun.
Yeah.
Or something like it's just ridiculous. But the energy would be jumped from the sun to Mercury to basically hopscotching back all the way to the Earth. Now, but you'll see, and obviously energy loss, energy bleed as you get along those lengths.
Yeah.
But as long as we could harness 3% or like 4% of the sun's energy, would alter life on this planet forever. If we could get just a smidgen of that energy from the sun.
Martianista is psychic, because she says that, speaking of movies, she watched The Girl on the Third Floor, which I watched just the other evening. I really liked it, actually.
I have to.
I watched the Girl on the Third Floor as well.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I got arrested. I got arrested.
It was a decent film. I would tell you what surprised me was because the reason I checked it out is because the lead actor in that is CM Punk from the WWE. And whenever you see wrestlers taking on lead roles in films, I'm always morbidly curious. Triple H is terrible. Stone Cold is pretty much one note. He's the same guy every time. But The Rock has been, Dwayne Johnson has obviously, he can actually act. He's had a very prolific career. Yeah. But CM Punk was in this. Like, who the fuck gave CM Punk a movie? Well, at least it's a horror film. And so I checked it out, and I was shocked at how well he actually did.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
I had no idea that he was a wrestler, to be honest, because he does a really good job with the role. So I had no idea who this was. On the cover, because I buy DVDs, because when I pay for a film, I have this weird thing. I have this weird thing that I want to own it, right? I don't want the streaming service to say, "Oh, well, you used to own this film, but now we're going to take it away from you." So I want to own the fucking film and be able to watch it whenever I want. So I buy the hard copy. And I will concede that Blu-rays are a viable medium. But those of you who are dependent on stream services, I think you're ultimately throwing money at organizations that can take your content away from you. I also feel like Irish needs to wear his goddamn hat since this was his fucking idea.
Fine, for fuck's sake. I'll wear my helmet.
And yes, Martianista, the effects were surprisingly good, and I did like the fresher take on the haunted house story.
It was.
So
good.
I like that.
Yes, and Raptor says nobody steals my DVDs. That's goddamn right. I protect them with my life.
Oh, do you want this other DVD collection back, Tony?
I've got to send you some DVDs, actually, Tony. I've got a whole bunch of them. I got a lot of weird DVDs. I've got a really good DVD for you.
Oh yeah, okay. Well,
You see, that's interesting, Little Wolf. WWE Kane should have played Jason Voorhees, and that's intriguing. I can see it because he's big. He's a big motherfucker. He's seriously muscular. I mean, obviously he's a huge dude. The problem is that Kane, in my personal opinion, Kane is too big. He's just too big of a guy to play Jason Voorhees. Whereas the guys who played him before, Ken Kersinger and Derek Mears.
mhm.
These they were chosen because they're tall, but they are not Kane big. Because Kane, I think, is almost. I think he's 7'1". He's either 6'11" or he's 7'1". I can't remember because they change that shit in the WWE all the time. I think he is so large that you couldn't get a solid enough lead actor, because the lead actor always has to be comparable to Jason in height.
Yeah.
And in order to because as long as the hero is comparable in height, Jason could be a little bit bigger. Then you can actually have a good heroic scene. If the lead hero is too short, then he's dead. So that's just the way it goes in the horror formula. So unfortunately, I think he's just too large. Although I think he'd be great. Although putting Kersinger up against or was it Banuski? I can't remember. But putting the guy in Jason versus Freddy up against Robert Englund was a total mismatch. It should have been Kane Hodder the whole time. So that's my one beef with the Friday the 13th franchise, that Kane Hodder got fucked out of that role.
I'm going to point out two things here. Clive Wells agrees with me about DVDs 100%.
Yes.
And I want to be Clive Wells when I grow up. So, this is a guy who understands physics to a degree that I kind of aspire to. So, and the other one is Martianista thinks that Irish Demon looks like a pirate of Penzance.
Can you give us a few? Can you give us a few bars?
No.
And he doesn't know the Pirates of Penzance?
You don't know any songs? There is
songs.
There is a truly awesome version of Pirates of Penzance that has Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline, yes.
As the pirate.
Love that
king.
one.
And he attacks the role with so much gusto. That I kind of fell in love with him as an actor. He just sort of throws himself into it with no reserve whatsoever. It's incredibly entertaining to watch. But anyway,
His portrayal of "I Am a Pirate King" was probably one of the major highlights of that.
Oh, there are some With Cat-Like Tread. Their version of With Cat-Like Tread, where they're singing really, really loudly about how stealthy they're being. With cat-like tread upon our prey we steal, in silence tread our cautious way we feel. And it's just, and forgive me, I am one of the worst singers ever.
That would be Nathan Thompson
for doing that. I'm pretty bad. I think I could give Nathan a run for his money in bad singing.
No, you couldn't, because he doesn't have any money. Oh.
Right.
Oh. But no, he is fucking terrible. That video, whenever I feel down, I always listen to... Sorry about that. My helmet got in the way. Whenever I feel down, I always listen to You and Me. We used to be together. Or the one where he's like, I haven't eaten in 4 days.
That's the same one.
Is it the same one?
Yeah, he was
Oh, there's
pity
definitely
partying about.
another one though.
He
There's
was pity
definitely
partying about his
another one.
fucking life.
I want to
Yeah,
give
you're right. I think it is the same one.
a shout out to Unflat Earth, who seems to be taking off, but says that they've really enjoyed the stream. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for
as Darth Vader would
Mr.
say,
Andrew.
live long and prosper. Just to annoy all the nerds out there.
Microraptor says that I'm a better rapper than MC Toon. I'm not certain of that. And MC Toon recently himself to the 4th worst rapper on the face of the planet. Last week, he described himself.
One of the ones worse than him has got to be Multi Dum Dum.
Could be.
It's got to be.
I have not heard of Florence Foster Jenkins Best of Freya, so I don't know what you have done to upset Little Wolf, Demon.
What did you know?
He's calling you an asshole, so you know there you go.
I think it's back to the space balls.
Okay.
What did I say about Spaceballs?
No. It's the helmet.
No, because there's a scene when Rick Moranis.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
I can't believe it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Yeah. I wasn't sure.
Yes, or Little Wolf, yes, or Nathan Thompson doing Jeopardy, which is only made better by Craig's clown face.
I thought it was made. I thought it was made better by the version I had.
What was your version?
I haven't seen your version.
I knew it. You guys have never watched my channel.
Never.
I actually do. I actually watch most of your shit.
Yes. Llewellyn Kufwaffen.
What are you chewing on over there, Johnny-O? You're making me hungry.
Llewellyn Kufwaffen.
Llewellyn, I think. Anyway,
There
they're out.
Llewellyn, take care.
Time to make some bacon mushroom omelets with extra cheese.
Ooh.
Oh, hey, Munchkin.
Let me say hi, everybody.
Where's mine? I expect a package. Oh.
That sounds nice. What
I gotta lift the brim of this hat up. People are gonna think I'm asleep.
You do. You've got the sleeping cowboy look, like yeah.
She's sleeping.
Llewellyn's out of here. Huilfar, Llewellyn, Huilfar.
Oh, hang on, baby.
But I can set it back. I can set it back like that. That's acceptable.
Well, have you ever seen James Garner?
Mm-hmm.
He does the whole sets his hat like this, sort of. You can see you can see the forehead, that sort of thing.
See, I've always been just more the so you can still see, but I like that because it doesn't.
Clive Wells says I watch Johnny's channel,
like wearing
but mentally tune out the boring bits. So you mentally tune out the whole thing, then, do you?
Damn right. I like to wear it low over my eyes with my sunglasses on, so nobody can see that I'm looking at them.
Right.
I'm judging them for being lame.
You have the most gorgeous daughters. I think I've told you this before, Johnny-O, but
They get it from their mother.
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
You have the world's most adorable little women.
Thank you.
In your house.
Absolutely. Who's the ugly guy on the T-shirt though? That's what I still can't figure out.
So I actually am curious. So the guy in the red hat, that's you, Johnny, right? Okay, the guy in the blue hat, is that Keith? Or who is that?
That's what I thought.
No, that's the other host the other host of the Plot Hole who's been on hiatus because of COVID and his job. That's Jeremy.
Okay.
Man, he's going to come back in 2 weeks, actually. 2 or 3 weeks. So he'll be back.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
What are you guys eating over there? Whatever you guys are eating looks really nice because everybody seems to be enjoying it.
Gummy bears.
Is that Bella in the background at the moment?
Bella's here, and then Jocelyn is here.
You're right. Okay.
So ask Bella, who's the ugly guy in the red hat on
Bella,
the T-shirt?
Who's the ugly guy in the red hat on the T-shirt?
Hey!
We
Hey,
weren't I'm talking about you, Jocelyn.
Who's that ugly guy?
That's the daddy's girl standing up for daddy. Oh, I beg to differ. Sorry, I don't argue. I beg to differ.
I don't care.
He's earthy. That's the word I'd use. Earthy.
I'm not ugly.
Yeah.
I'm handsome to mommy.
To mommy. Yeah, and only mommy.
So, yeah, I like that Johnny O is getting hassled about his personal appearance by the man with the musketeer mustache. Right?
I only do that because I got the shirt. I mean,
All right. Oh, yeah, sure.
Porthos.
Without the
says
shirt.
the guy wearing his hat like a granny at a cricket match, just like no idea where she is. You know when somebody
it's on top
clearly,
of the headphones, mate. It's on top of the headphones.
You know when somebody clearly put the hat on Granny, she didn't ask for it. It's just like... and she has no idea where she is.
Here, Granny, we got to keep you from getting sunburned.
Yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, she thinks it's like 1962, and she's and it's like, Granny, who's Granny? I don't have any grandchildren.
Let me go tend to them tomatoes in the yard.
You're out of the cricket match. You're out of the cricket match. She's like, who are all these people in my living room?
Yeah. Oh God. So, do you actually like cricket, Tony?
Oh, yes, I love it.
Oh God.
You have some words of wisdom. Hang on 1 second. Words of wisdom incoming.
Yeah.
So, oh, here we go.
I met J.O. Warren in person today. What? Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Hey, Munchkin.
Wow. He's the guy with the weird hat whose eyes you can't see. The one who doesn't look like he's from the Four Musketeers.
No, apparently, according to Irish, I look like a guy who look like one of those guys who drives a truck through the outback.
Yep.
You do actually kind of look like that. Yeah.
All you got to do is use
Until you speak, then the illusion is.
Because I don't have an Australian accent. Is that what you're saying?
To be fair, they don't.
That
have
is
an
what I'm
Australian
saying.
accent either.
Yes.
But Tony, they don't have an Australian accent either because they only know a few words.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
I think I do a pretty possible Australian accent.
It's not too
Not
bad.
as bad as mine.
No, you don't.
Oh, yours is
You're
horrific.
saying my Australian accent is bad?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Look, I can admit, I
Australian
freely
accent is
admit that my
bad.
Aussie accent is shit. Okay.
I agree.
I've had casting directors actually say that my Australian accent is good.
Okay.
Were they
Well,
Australian?
your Australian accent is considerably better than Tarantino's.
Oh my God. In
So-
Django.
In Django Unchained, yes, that was the worst Australian accent I've ever heard. So yeah, it's actually not that bad, but it just won't sound Australian to an.
No, like an Aussie would know.
You're not
Okay.
going to sound Australian to an
Not
Australian.
gonna, what about my
and I've heard the same. So I thought Leonardo DiCaprio's South African accent in Blood Diamond was actually quite good, but
Yeah.
apparently South Africans hate it.
Wow.
They
It's the same
think
when
that
anybody
it
does an
doesn't
Irish
sound like-
accent. I can't think of anybody that's done a good Irish accent who wasn't Irish.
Yeah.
Not even
Yeah,
one.
because Sean Patrick Flannery and Norman Reedus and Boondock Saints. I always thought theirs was good, but
Well,
yeah,
it's an
they have-
American.
they have
It's
this.
an American Irish accent, which isn't bad, right? So
Yeah,
if they're
which is
overly
different, yeah.
Americanized, then their accents are passable. But
Yep.
yeah, if they're straight from Ireland, and the thing that kills me about Irish accent is that everybody thinks that it's just one. There's only one Irish accent. Like,
yeah.
no, there's like fucking 40 of them.
Yeah.
Well, there's more than that. Let me tell you. I'll give you an example, right? So my dad comes from the north side of the city, and my mom comes from the south side. So they have totally different accents. And then I went to school in a different county, which is a totally different thing in Ireland. A different county, like your county is like a country within a country. It's you would die for your county kind of thing. But like my accent was totally different to all the kids that I went to school with, and they only lived like 10 miles away. So when people are like, they do an Irish accent, and it's an amalgamation of about 20 different accents, and it sounds it's impossible for a non-Irish person to do an Irish accent. Like I'm just trying to get an example of.
Well, if you go to Peaky Blinders, Sam Neill does a Belfast accent, and I'm wondering what your opinion of that is.
I thought that was really good, actually.
Okay.
I was actually pleasantly
I'm
surprised
about to trigger the Irish demon.
by how good that was.
Brad Pitt's accent was amazing.
His accent in Snatch was at
his
least...
accent in Snatch was fucking deplorable. Like, I mean,
really.
That's not what Travis sound like. It's so bad.
Are you saying that there are no pikeys that sound like that?
They do, right? So you'd always know a pikey if you spoke to a pikey. How's it going there, boss? Do you want to buy a carpet there, boss? That's a pikey. You would know they were pikey. But the way he did it was like a pikey pretending to be a pikey. It was really bad. Really bad.
Have you ever seen the
you're a big fucker.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're a big fucker.
Because you have not seen a bad Irish accent until you have watched the Brad Pitt in The Devil's Own.
Yeah.
Because
that's the West Belfast accent he tries to do. I couldn't watch that movie. I couldn't fucking do it.
He was just so bad. His accent was just terrible.
He took a lot of shit for that one.
Yeah.
And you know the thing is, right? He did an accent of what at the time would have been one of the most dangerous group of people on the fucking planet.
That's right.
People from inner city Belfast. Like, you don't fuck with those guys, like, at all. I can't even stress that enough. Like, you do not fuck with people from Belfast. And like, even people from Glasgow don't fuck with people from Belfast. It's like, those guys are tough. It's like when ISIS was a thing. And all of these Belfast IRA groups were like, fucking bring it on. We are ready and fucking waiting for it. They should have just sent all those West Belfast lads out to the Middle East. They would have started that shit out really.
Yep, they would have done.
Really?
I do feel a lot of sympathy for actors who end up in roles that they're ill-equipped for, because it's not always their fault that they end up in that position. And, there's been a casting director, the director, and the producers have all okayed this decision, and then the actor can end up in a no-win situation. And I always feel just a lot of sympathy for actors, because they end up carrying the can for decisions that a lot of other people have actually made.
That's right. It wasn't their choice.
Sandra Bullock, for instance, won a Razzie for a role, and she brought in the script and said, "Okay, tell me how I could have played this better." And she's got a point, right? Okay, she didn't have to take the role, but she did. And the question is, could she have done any better with the material she was presented with? That to me, sort of, actors also often end up in positions where they are making themselves deeply emotionally vulnerable to and physically vulnerable to the audience and to critics and to that sort of thing, without people necessarily understanding how difficult a process it is. So sort of when an actor puts in a bad performance, I'm actually looking for the other people to blame for them being in that position rather than them.
So sometimes the actors, what you see on film is a culmination of a whole just mess of influence, right? So you've got an actor who could have given 20 beautiful takes, but because the one questionable or bad take fits the shot better, that's the one that gets put in the movie. So people think, oh, he's terrible. That delivery was terrible, or this was bad, or this actor is a bad. Sometimes you can look at directors and editors for those choices.
Microraptor says that he has Neiman's bowel movements for a while.
He's taking a shit right now.
Is he okay?
I literally am. I put on a diaper when I changed the shirt so that I could do a bit of a show and tell. So,
Irish, Irish, you asked a question about your Texan accent.
Yeah. What are you fucking laughing at, Tony?
Because it was fucking laughable, is what it was.
Bullshit.
You all you did was make yourself sound gruffer. Like, oh, I'm from Texas.
You ever
That's the way
notice
they
that though,
talk.
JL? You ever notice that, like when somebody who's doing an accent that isn't theirs, if it's an American accent, their voices get lower, and if it's a European,
get lower,
if it's a
yes.
European accent, they get higher.
Yep. Yep.
Like look at speaking of Brad Pitt, when he was doing his Devil's Own accent, his voice like got higher in register.
Right.
We came at it from the Lucky Charms version of the accent. The accent.
The reality is that I have no ear for music and I have no ear for accents. And whereas my brother, my youngest brother, he has just an uncanny ability, so he can hear a funny voice off The Simpsons and he can reproduce it almost instantly. And I've never been able to do that. It's just not one of the skills I possess. But I recognize that, and I don't even fucking try.
When I was a kid, I used to be really good at it.
Which is why I take the liberty of laughing at you, Irish. Because
when you say you Irish, do you mean me or you mean the Irish
Yes, I
people?
mean you. I mean you in particular.
Yes,
because
Irish,
you are unimpeded. My youngest
you doing a Texan accent is like me going, "Oh, look at me! I'm Irish demon. It's too rainy here on the island. I came down to Australia for some sun."
That was actually pretty good.
We'll say.
Well, you know what? The way you said sun, that was good.
Certainly better than your Texan accent.
Oh,
Jessica
shit.
D is just laying into me for being old. My younger brother Moses, she's
I gotta get
she's on the. There's some guy on Fight the Flat Earth's comments section who has called me out as a geriatric bully.
Well, he's not wrong.
So they're laying into me on the age, but
it's not your fault that motherfuckers. It's not your fault that motherfuckers get in the ring with you who are punching way above their weight class.
Yeah,
that's not on you.
That's the way I look at it too.
All right.
I also look at it like Spurs fucked up a couple of times by asking me questions like, "Can you prove the curvature of the Earth?" Well, yes, I can. Wait here for 10 minutes while I explain it.
Right.
Yeah, and that way the debate's going to be one-sided. You didn't let him say anything. Well, he asked me to prove something. I proved it. So, if he wants to ask me questions, then he can shut up and let me explain.
I'll show him the curve and hit that fucker in the face with an orange.
Yeah.
All right.
True.
We've been doing this for over 3 hours now. I think
here.
it's time we sign off and let. I will look at Irish Demons are twisting his mustache. He's spent.
One for all and all for one, motherfuckers.
There you go, Brian Adams. Oh man.
All right.
Well,
we got to teach you how to do a Texan accent, I swear.
I'll try. I will. I'll pick it up really quick when I get over there.
You actually have a bit of. Have you ever seen the 1973 version of The Three Musketeers with Oliver Reed?
I haven't.
Yeah. I've seen. I saw one as a kid.
Yeah. You've actually got a bit of that dynamic going on, Demon. You've got a bit of the Oliver Reed, not due to the hat, but due to the mustache.
Flat derp is in the house.
Can we just all agree
you're missing is you're not sweating pure ethanol.
Flat derp. I was in the house.
Hey,
be careful what you say.
All right, guys, I gotta get out of here, boys. I'm fucked.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna go around the horn and say goodbye to everybody. Irish, you want to start?
Okay.
Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you, Tony, for hosting us. Excuse me. That sounded like I was joking there, but I wasn't. I was literally joking. I wasn't like, thank you, Tony.
Look at me. Joking. Fuck you, Tony.
So Tony doesn't know what he's fucking talking about when it comes to accents. I nailed it. And but yeah, I've got a few videos planned for this week. So stay tuned if you haven't done so already. Please do check out my channel, Irish Demon, and you just see me basically laugh at people. Yep. But yeah, that's me. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Mr. JM Truth. I mean, J.L. Warren.
I think
No
it's time
way.
I switch back. I think it's time I switch back to J.L. Warren. To be honest,
J.L. Warren, yes.
I
So,
think it is about time, yeah.
I think the truth has run its course. But yes, thank you so much to everyone who came out. Thank you to everyone in the live chat, all the comments. It was this was an awesome time. Some great conversations. I want to invite everybody over to, you can either check out my channel, JL Warren, or you can check out my horror podcast, Week in Horror. You can check us out at weekinhorror.net. Leave us feedback, comments, questions. Hit us up at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Or you can, if you really love what we do over there, if you're a really, really huge horror fan, you can support us on Patreon. We have tiers as low as $1 a month. That helps us make the show, helps us put that in, increase our production value, and hopefully one day make our own original content. That's what we really want to do. You can also catch me on stuff like the Plot Hole or Irish Demons channel or PhD Tony with doing debates and various stuff like that. I like taking my swing at theists and other woo believers. If you really want to help me out too, I have merchandise for Week in Horror. I have a Teespring account. You can check that out too. The link is on our website, weekinhorror.net. And thank you all so much again. We'll see you next Sunday.
And I'm Johnny O from the Plot Hole. This is always fun sitting down with three of my most respected colleagues in this here community. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. What the hell was that?
Sorry.
There's always one, man. There's always
I
one.
think JL had like a
And usually
bug.
it's me, so I'm glad it's not me
JL,
this
did
time.
you find a bug in your microphone or something?
I found a small fruit fly on my microphone, and then I hit it, and it got into the little grating of the deal, and I had to blow it out. So
Just suck it out later.
Anyway,
that's what she said, Mike.
ball boy.
Go ahead, Johnny O.
This coming Friday on the Plot Hole on the actual podcast on rockmetaltalk.com. I've got the very talented and very lovely Whitney Raquel. She's going to come on, have a chat, play a couple of tunes. And then Saturday with JL Warren, Alex, and Eugene from the Weekend Horror, we're going to be doing Master Debaters Best in Series. Was it Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Texas Chainsaw
That's
Massacre.
going to be fun. So tune in for that. That's going to be on the YouTube channels. And, I'll be doing videos here and there. So that's all from me. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us.
And so it falls to me to finish off. Thank you guys, for being on. I feel actually really lucky. Sort of the four of us have ended up sort of gravitating together just by happenstance. But it seems so natural. These guys are just people whose company I really enjoy. And I hope you do too, because it's just a pleasure to hang out and have conversations that veer from Irish Demons' bowel movements to through horror films out to the vagaries of the American justice system. And while it can be a weird and wonderful journey, I hope you've all enjoyed it. And thank you so much, you guys in the chat, for being here and for interacting with us. We really appreciate it. I'll be doing a debate. I'll be doing a discussion tomorrow with the not tomorrow, day after, with Rachie on Fight the Flat Earth, and then I'll be doing a debate on Tuesday evening, American time, with MC Toon against Hip Hop Hippie. During which my ambition is to shut up and let MC Toon talk. So, if you're a fan of MC Toon, that should be a good opportunity for you. Anyway, thank you, everybody, and good evening, and take care.
Oh, by the way, next week, the Four Beardsman will be on JL Warren's channel. Is it going to be the Weekend Horror JL or actual JL Warren?
We'll do JL
Okay,
Warren.
Okay.
Make sure you go subscribe to his so you don't miss the next episode. And with that,